The baby was just born when his grandfather wanted to kill him because prophecies revealed that the child might be the reincarnation of Asaha Doji, the strongest onmyoji from 1,000 years ago. To prevent Doji from destroying the world, the grandfather felt compelled to kill his own grandson. However, the next second, all the Shikigami summoned by the grandfather were destroyed. The newborn's ability to summon Shikigami confirmed he was indeed Doji. The father immediately called upon the mountain god to intervene. But even the mountain god could not withstand a single attack from Doji's Shikigami. The Shikigami picked up the baby and prepared to leave. The mother was extremely anxious, but could do nothing as she was still pregnant with another child. Doji believed that his brother would follow in his footsteps and pursue the path to becoming the shaman king. When the time came, he planned to return, consume his brother, and acquire greater power to destroy the world. People cannot escape their fate. With his own ability, the grandfather could not oppose Doji and had to place his hopes on his other grandson. He believed this child had the same potential as Doji, but he never imagined that the family's hereditary Shikigami techniques would be beyond the grasp of his grandson, Asakura Yo. Yo lacked the talent of an onmyoji and ambition. His biggest dream was to be an idle layabout. Left with no choice, the grandfather revealed a secret. The world was inhabited by humans, spirits, and ghosts. Many, like the Asakura family, could communicate with ghosts and were known as shamans. All things in the world were under the control of the Spirit King, or God. To prevent humanity's extinction, God communicated with a representative of the shamans periodically to guide human development. This representative was the Shaman King. Upon hearing this, Yo decided he wanted to become the Shaman King, amusingly, just to continue his lazy lifestyle. Thus, Yo embarked on a journey of training to find his guardian ghost, transferring to Funbari Hill School. There, he met his classmate Manta, who had never seen a shaman. Yo's summoned ghost frightened Manta. A ghost dressed as a samurai named Amidamaru caught Yo's attention. His tombstone revealed his name. Yo approached Manta to learn more about Amidamaru, a famous samurai from 600 years ago, whose relics were kept in the local museum. At the museum, Yo encountered the ghost attached to Amidamaru's sword, Mosuke, and hoped Mosuke would share Amidamaru's story. Meanwhile, Manta went to the cemetery to find Yo. Unexpectedly, a gang had taken over the cemetery as their hangout. The gang leader, Ryunosuke, was extremely arrogant, even disrespecting the once notorious Amidamaru by smashing his tombstone with a single strike. Unfortunately, Manta was discovered and beaten up by Ryunosuke. Seeing his friend bullied, Yo could not stand by. But Ryunosuke was formidable. Could Yo really defeat them? He is Amidamaru, a warrior who killed countless people 600 years ago. Now, seeking revenge, he can only transform into a spirit orb and fuse with Shaman Yo. Ryunosuke, experienced in street life, wasn't one to be easily intimidated by a young newcomer. He ordered his underlings to attack first. Yo immediately absorbed the spirit orb into his body, entering the soul integration form. In this fused mode, Yo's swordsmanship was divine, swiftly defeating 2 gang members with a single move. This is the power of a shaman, displaying a ghost's abilities in one's own body. Seeing his men defeated, Ryunosuke decided to step in himself. However, Yo dodged Ryunosuke's attack and then sliced off his hair. Ryunosuke's minions quickly fled with him. Many powerful ghosts linger in the world, attached to the living. Amidamaru is one of them. To become the Shaman King, Yo hopes to partner with him, but Amidamaru refuses. He has waited 600 years for his close friend Mosuke, with whom he once served the same master. However, their master ordered Amidamaru to kill Mosuke to prevent him from crafting a superior weapon. Amidamaru would never harm his friend, and Mosuke vowed to create the finest sword for him. Unbeknownst to Amidamaru, Mosuke was killed by others sent by their master. Ignorant of the truth, Amidamaru waited for 600 years, even fighting off thousands to stay at the promised meeting place, eventually dying from exhaustion after killing 1,000 men. Now, using his abilities, Yo fuses with Mosuke to forge a new sword, Harusame, in a blacksmith shop for Amidamaru. Mosuke has already moved on to the underworld. Learning that his friend fulfilled his promise, Amidamaru resolves his feelings. Grateful to Yo, he decides to help him become the Shaman King before returning to the underworld himself. Yo thus gains his first guardian ghost. All this is witnessed by a mysterious boy watching from a distance, who soon meets Yo again, this time while he is being attacked by a gang. Facing an oncoming car, the boy remained calm. He pulled out a golden token and summoned the ghost, Basin. After fusing with Basin, he sliced the car in half with a single strike. Amidamaru and others were stunned by this action. The boy, showing no sign of stopping, prepared to finish off the troublemakers completely. However, Yo intervened, stating that killing people indiscriminately is unacceptable for a shaman. The boy introduced himself as Tao Ren, a future contender for Shaman King. He argued that such scum wasted resources and cleansing the world was his mission. He also demanded Yo hand over Amidamaru, interested in the powerful spirit. Yo, having bonded with Amidamaru as friends, refused. Ren mocked this, claiming Yo couldn't harness Amidamaru's full potential. Both seeing each other unfavorably, they entered the soul integration form. Ren's guardian ghost was skilled in swordplay. He took advantage of Yo's dodging to launch a deadly attack, but Yo barely blocked it. Though Ren was slightly surprised, he considered it merely a warm-up. He then activated 100% fusion, unleashing his full power in a devastating attack that defeated Yo. This demonstrated the advanced form of soul integration. When two souls coexist in one body, conflict can arise. In Ren's view, seeing a ghost as a friend prevents full control, making 100% possession unattainable. Aware of the significant gap in strength between himself and Ren, Yo decides to send Amidamaru to the afterlife, unwilling to let his friend fall into someone like Ren's hands. Enraged, Ren prepares to kill Yo, but Amidamaru shields Yo with his body, determined to protect him from any harm. Ren, at 100% fusion, charges at Yo again, but unexpectedly, his lethal attack is caught single-handedly by Yo. Yo, too, has achieved 100% fusion. He explains to a bewildered Ren that suppressing a guardian ghost isn't necessary. A true connection of hearts can also reach 100% fusion. Until the very end, Ren couldn't understand how someone who treated ghosts as friends could have the same potential to become the Shaman King as himself. After a devastating defeat, Yo also collapsed from exhaustion and woke up in the hospital. Besides Amidamaru and Manta, a cute girl appeared at the door. Manta, unaware of the trouble he was stirring, demanded to know who she was. The girl, Hana, was a shamaness adopted by Yo's grandmother, raised as Yo's betrothed. At just 13, she already possessed formidable powers. As the prospective Shaman King's wife, Hana had traveled far to ensure her fiancé intensified his training. From the recent battle, it was evident that Yo was too weak, unable to defeat even Tao Ren, let alone the stronger competitors soon to arrive from around the world. Yo had never loved school as much as he did now, especially because Anna had been pushing him hard these past few days. Just when he thought he could find peace in a classroom without Anna, she surprised him by transferring to his school. To unwind, they went to the cinema to watch a movie starring the famous action star Lee Piran, known for his explosive martial arts style and unfortunate untimely death, with his body never found. As they were engrossed in Piran's past, an unwelcome guest appeared. Tao Ren's sister, Tao Jun. She came to claim Amidamaru for Ren, summoning a zombie using a talisman. Shockingly, the zombie was Lee Piran, turned into a zombie by Jun's parents as a gift to her. Yo was furious at such cruelty, killing an innocent for power. He initiated soul integration, ready to confront Jun, but Piran knocked Yo down with a single move. Yo was powerless against Piran's strength. As Yo refused to hand over Amidamaru, Jun instructed Piran to use his finishing moves, battering Yo severely. However, Yo stood up again, believing that while Jun could control Piran's body, she could never control his spirit. Hearing Yo's words, Piran shed tears, but helplessly bound to Jun's commands, he continued his assault on Yo. To help Yo become stronger, Anna chose not to intervene. However, Manta couldn't stand by and ran to find a suitable weapon for Yo. He happened upon Ryunosuke, who, after venting his frustration on Manta, agreed to lend his wooden sword. As a warrior, one's true strength is realized only with a sword in hand. Grateful to Manta, Yo and Amidamaru regained their fighting spirit. They dodged Pyron's attacks and destroyed the talisman on his head, freeing his sealed consciousness. Realizing he had been turned into a monstrous form by the Tao family, Pyron was consumed with rage and sought revenge on Jun. However, as he was about to strike, Yo stopped him. He urged Pyron to stay calm, explaining that killing Jun wouldn't change the past. Fuming, Pyron unleashed his anger on Yo, while Jun, realizing no one could match Pyron in his current state, ceased resisting. Hana, however, believed even the mighty Pyron had someone he feared. Jun remembered Pyron had a master, shaman. Using her shamanic skills, Hana gathered the scattered soul of Master Shaman. After Yo disengaged from the fusion, Hana attached Shaman's soul to Yo. The boy was possessed by the ghost of the martial arts master Shaman. Despite his shaky appearance, it seemed unlikely he could withstand a strike from Pyron. However, facing Pyron's fierce attacks, Shaman easily dodged them and quickly identified weaknesses in Pyron's techniques, true to his status as a martial arts grandmaster. Shaman saw that his disciple had been blinded by hatred and had forgotten the true purpose of martial arts, which is to reach a state of ultimate freedom. Using Yo's body, Shaman executed his signature move from his lifetime. This punch not only knocked down Pyron, but also released the talisman inside him, freeing his soul. Now, Pyron appeared calm and returned to his living form. Jun, overwhelmed by these events, felt she could no longer stay. Just then, Pyron stopped her. As a martial arts enthusiast, Pyron was not ready to follow his master into the afterlife. He wanted to further refine the martial arts techniques he had been working on before his death. The zombie body created by the Tao family provided the perfect vessel for his continued training. Therefore, he asked Jun to help him with his practice. Elsewhere, Ryunosuke, having located a secret base, encountered another child who was also someone he shouldn't have messed with. Then he fell in love at first sight with a girl named Hana. Following Hana home, he was shocked to discover that she was living with the boy who had previously beaten him up. The large house was rented by Hana for just $50, which surprised Manta on his first visit. Of course, the rent was so low for a reason. The house was crowded, but that didn't matter to a shaman. Having lost both love and dignity, Ryunosuke no longer had the will to live. At that moment, a sinister figure appeared behind him, offering to help him defeat Yo by using his body. The possessed Ryunosuke then ordered his subordinates to steal Amidamaru's sword, Harusame, from the museum. Manta accidentally witnessed this and hurried to report it, but was intercepted by Ryunosuke on the way. Meanwhile, Yo, who was using the restroom, suddenly had a bad feeling that Manta might be in danger. Just as everyone was preparing to go rescue him, Ryunosuke confronted them. Hana immediately realized that he was possessed by an evil spirit. This man was possessed by the ghost of Tokagerro, a spirit from 600 years ago seeking revenge on Amidamaru, who had killed him. Amidamaru didn't remember him, but vowed to protect Manta if Tokagerro dared to harm him. Enraged, Tokagerro prepared to attack Manta. Yo initiated soul integration, but Tokagerro was waiting for this moment. Fortunately, Yo dodged the fatal strike, though he was shocked to see Amidamaru's beloved sword, Harusame, now in Tokagerro's hands. The sword was forged by Mosuke from his father's relics. Though it pained him, Amidamaru, seeing Manta in danger, resolved to break Harusame using a deadly technique in coordination with Yo. Tokagerro was surprised Amidamaru would break a sword forged by a friend. But Amidamaru understood that what Mosuke truly gave him was not the sword, but the resolve to sacrifice everything for a friend. Yo urged Tokagerro to surrender, but he stubbornly continued his attack on Manta. Even Ryunosuke's subordinates couldn't stand it anymore, shocked that their former leader had turned into such a scoundrel. As the situation worsened, Tokagerro took Ryunosuke hostage. Hana challenged Tokagerro to act, promising to obliterate him once his possession ended. Yo, unwilling to see anyone hurt, offered himself in exchange for Ryunosuke. Tokagerro accused Yo of false kindness and invaded his body without hesitation. Unexpectedly, instead of killing Yo, Tokagerro began to cry, touched because, besides his mother, only Yo truly wanted to protect him. Tokagerro lamented that if he had such companions earlier, he wouldn't have suffered so much. The crisis was resolved through sincerity, but the real challenges were just beginning. A brilliant meteor streaked across the sky, announcing the beginning of the Shaman King tournament as decreed by the Supreme Spirit King. At this time, top shamans from around the world had gathered in Tokyo, including the seasoned siblings Jun and Ren. However, before Yo could face them again, he needed to defeat the mysterious man before him. This man was a descendant of the Patch tribe and possessed 5 nature spirits, each with 500 years of cultivation. Silva, the man, stated that if Yo could injure him within 10 minutes, Yo would earn a ticket to the Shaman King tournament. Knowing the man's background, Yo quickly completed soul integration with Amidamaru and launched a deadly attack on Silva, but Silva easily blocked his attack. Silva explained that Silver Shield represents defense, Silver Horn represents attack, Silver Tail represents speed, Silver Rod represents control, and Silver Wing represents flight. He has the power to materialize all these spirits. Yo realized that physical attacks were ineffective against Silva, so he decided to try a spiritual attack instead. He threw Amidamaru at Silva, but it was futile. Following Anna's example, Yo then recited a soul-purifying chant, which had no effect on Silva, but nearly purified Amidamaru instead. Amused, Silva gave a hint. His spirits were attached to specific pieces of his equipment. Yo understood that ghost materialization required an attribute-matching medium, leading to his new battle form, Oversoul. With Yo understanding how to use it, both were now on equal footing. Silva merged his spirits into his ultimate Oversoul totem cannon. If Yo could withstand this attack, he would pass the test. Failure meant death. After the smoke cleared, Silva was unharmed, while Yo had collapsed from exhaustion. Unexpectedly, Silva declared Yo had passed because he not only survived, but also cut off his own headband. Silva handed the Shaman King tournament pass to Yo. The Oracle Bell represents the Spirit King's will, and all match arrangements would be communicated through it. The ultimate victor would also receive power bestowed by the Spirit King. This boy is a descendant of wolves and gods, an Ainu tribe shaman named Horohoro, and Yo's next opponent. His guardian ghost is a nature spirit possessing tremendous power. This is Horohoro's Oversoul form. Countless ice spears charge towards Yo. Yo is forced to activate his Oversoul form to block them. A system announcement declares the official start of the match. If the Oversoul form is dispelled within the match time, the participant will be declared the loser. Horohoro launches ice spears again, but this time Yo easily blocks them with his shield and repels Horohoro with a single strike. In Yo's view, Horohoro's combat skills are too crude. Facing his ice spike attacks, Yo easily shatters them. Seeing this, Horohoro no longer holds back and prepares to unleash all his energy in a devastating final move. Suddenly, an avalanche rushes towards Yo, with Horohoro confident that this strike will completely defeat him. The immense power brings great pressure on Yo. Merely defending is a sure path to defeat, so he decides to take a risk. As the avalanche subsides, Yo disappears. Horohoro thinks he has buried Yo alive, but unexpectedly, Yo bursts out of the snow, delivering a decisive strike filled with the belief in victory. Yet Horohoro is unharmed. Yo had already noticed that Horohoro had dispelled his Oversoul. This battle is a victory for Yo. Ryunosuke celebrates Yo's first victory at home, and Horohoro joins in. His reason for wanting to become the Shaman King is simple: to help the nature spirits repair their damaged homeland. Yo finds Horohoro's dream noble and decides to help him achieve it. Fortunately, the tournament follows a double elimination format, giving Horohoro another chance. However, the joyful times are short-lived as Horohoro's sister Parika arrives, marking the end of his good days. Seeing Horohoro's miserable situation, Yo instantly feels a sense of kinship with him. This necromancer is impressive. He can turn a skeleton into a living being, ultimately transforming it into a blonde beauty. Named Faust, he is Yo's second opponent in the Shaman King preliminaries. As a necromancer, his power lies in summoning skeletons. Upon their first meeting, Faust summoned a group of skeletons that captured Manta and performed a live dissection on him. Yo managed to break free and rescue Manta, though Manta was severely injured. Furious, Yo fearlessly faced Faust's skeleton army, entering his oversoul form and instantly shattering all the skeletons. He broke through Faust's skeletal shield and inflicted serious injuries on him. However, Yo underestimated Faust's strength. The graveyard provided an endless supply of bones for Faust to command. Yo's energy rapidly depleted, while Faust healed behind a wall of skeletons. Blinded by rage, Yo recklessly charged at Faust but collapsed from exhaustion halfway. Despite this, Yo refused to give up, determined to make those who hurt Manta pay. Sensing the right moment, Faust prepared to eliminate Yo. Beside him, a skeleton transformed into a flesh and blood blonde woman. His oversoul, Eliza. Hana stepped forward to help, but a stubborn Yo stopped her, insisting on defeating Faust personally. Hearing Yo call his beloved creation a mere puppet, Faust erupted in rage and commanded Eliza to attack Yo fiercely. Eliza was none other than his dearly beloved wife, who was killed by robbers. Overwhelmed by grief, Faust turned to necromancy. However, Yo believed that this did not justify Faust's reckless harming of others. Such a person, Yo argued, did not deserve to become the Shaman King. He concentrated his remaining strength at the tip of his sword and shattered Eliza with a single strike. Yo then collapsed from exhaustion, and his oversoul state was released. Yo lost the match. Once dreaming of being a lazy person, Yo felt an unprecedented unwillingness to accept defeat. He had never so strongly desired power. Although the match was over, Faust was not ready to let things go. He gathered his power into a giant skeleton that struck towards Yo. At this critical moment, a figure flashed, and the giant skeleton crumbled. Tao Ren appeared on the scene, and he was Yo's next opponent. Holding a combination weapon of a hammer and a large sword, Ren's oversoul form is extremely powerful. Ren charged at Yo, forcing him into a defensive position with his aggressive attacks. However, even when he teleported behind Yo, his attacks were still blocked. Taking advantage of a momentary lapse in Ren's focus, Yo began his counterattack, but Ren nullified it as well. Despite the intense offensive and defensive battle, Ren's energy showed no signs of depleting. He evolved his oversoul once more and charged at Yo. Facing Ren, whose energy level was higher than his own, Yo barely managed to block the attacks. Basin materialized, slammed Yo to the ground, but Yo blocked this powerful strike as well. After this round, however, there was a clear gap in their energy levels. Amidamaru, using his rich combat experience, spotted a flaw in Basin's technique. He advised Yo on how to dodge effectively, allowing Yo to deliver a decisive blow that shattered Ren's oversoul. Ren, unwilling to accept defeat, couldn't afford to lose at all costs. He summoned his mount and merged with the spirit of the strongest horse, which had once been Basin's warhorse. The fusion made him immensely powerful, equalizing his energy level with Yo's. It all came down to one final move. For the first time, Yo attempted to materialize Amidamaru to meet Ren's strongest strike. After a massive energy blast, both Ren's and Yo's energy levels dropped to 0, and they both released their oversouls. It was unclear who won. Fortunately, Silva was present. He declared the match a draw, and both advanced to the main Shaman King tournament, facing shamans from around the world, including the legendary man. Ren stays temporarily at Yo's house. As a boy bearing his family's mission, Ren experiences for the first time what it means to have friends. However, the happy times are always brief, and Ren must eventually return home to resolve matters with his family. I've never seen a father like this. He not only imprisons his own daughter but also sets hordes of zombies against his son. However, with Tao Ren's current strength, handling these zombies is not a problem. He enters his oversoul form and easily defeats several zombie soldiers until his father, Tao Ren, appears. The formidable Basin seems like an ant in front of him. Ren, seeing his sister imprisoned in the distance, is enraged, especially after learning that his father killed Pyron to vent his anger because Jun defended Yo and him. Ren cannot tolerate it any longer and vows to make his father pay. However, to Tao Ren, his own son is too weak to cause him any harm. Heartlessly, Tao Ren locks his children in the dungeon and subjects them to inhumane torture. Jun loses all hope, but Ren does not see it that way. This time, he is not fighting alone. At this critical moment, Basin runs to seek help from Yo. Everyone immediately heads to China upon receiving the news. After scouting by Tokagerro and Amidamaru, they find the Tao family compound deserted, likely a trap. But even if what lies ahead is perilous, nothing can stop them from rescuing their friends. Upon entering the room, they are immediately confronted by 5 different zombies, each a secret weapon refined by Tao Ren. These zombies are incredibly fast, and Ryunosuke is quickly overwhelmed. If not for Horohoro's timely rescue, they might have all been killed on the spot. Seeing the strength of the enemy, the group prepares to fight back. Yo rushes ahead to the dungeon to rescue Ren and Jun. He initially wants them to leave quickly, but the stubborn Ren insists on defeating his own father. This has been his obsession for a long time. Ren has been raised from a young age with the ruthless doctrine of reviving the Tao family at any cost. Numerous innocent people have died because of him and his father. Only by defeating his father can he break the Tao family's distorted beliefs. Ren does not want to involve Yo. If his obsession causes Yo to get hurt, he would regret it for life. However, as a friend, how could Yo not step in to help?
Yo.
How strong are the zombies created by the martial arts master shaman? Ryunosuke was beaten to an unknown fate, and Horohoro remains unconscious. Even the powerful Ren and Yo can only defend passively against shaman's combination attacks because the opponent's speed is too fast for them to react. Fortunately, Jun repaired Pyron and arrived just in time. Disappointed in her father, Jun seemed transformed, no longer holding back. She resolved that her father would not hurt her or her brother again. With Jun's enchantments, Pyron's speed and strength surged. Shaman used the same deadly move that had previously defeated Pyron, but this time, Pyron dodged it. Seizing the opportunity, Pyron used his finishing move to defeat Shaman. Jun's decisive action shocked Yo, Ren, and the others, but the battle was not over yet. Tao Ren was waiting at the top of the tower. Tao Ren had been waiting for a long time. His immense stature startled everyone. With just the force of one finger, he scattered the group. Horohoro and Ryunosuke tried to counterattack in their oversoul forms, but were flicked away by Tao Ren's finger. Pyron attempted a sneak attack, but failed to inflict any damage. Tao Ren's slap rendered Pyron incapacitated. Facing his rebellious son, Tao Ren mercilessly attacked him. At that moment, Yo took the blow for Ren, suffering immense pain from the powerful force. All his friends had been dealt with by their father. Tao Ren wanted his son to face reality, but everyone stood up again to resist him. Tao Ren couldn't understand why these people were so foolish, willing to sacrifice themselves for others. Little did he know, friendship is the strongest force. Annoyed and embarrassed, Tao Ren launched a full-strength strike at his son, but in the next second, his fist passed right through Ren's body. For a long time, Ren and Jun, under their father's intimidation, were forced to resist using strength, not realizing that what they were interacting with was actually an oversoul, and this man was their real father. This person's oversoul, a dragon body, is a dragon formed by the spirits of the Tao family. Tao Ren's body is wrapped with tokens, as he, bearing the will of the Tao family, must always be connected with the spirits of his ancestors. This is also Tao Ren's future mission. If this rebellious son dares to defy the head of the family's will, even if it is his own son, Tao Ren is prepared to enforce discipline. However, Ren is fearless, having resolved to follow his own path and uphold his own beliefs. To Tao Ren's surprise, Basin pins the Oversoul Dragon to the ground with a punch. The duel of Oversouls is not about strength, but a contest of beliefs. Clearly, Tao Ren's conviction wavers. Although the outcome is determined, Tao Ren is still not satisfied. Just then, Ren's grandfather and mother appear and put an end to the drama. What was a life-and-death battle turns into a lavish dinner, leaving everyone bewildered and suspicious that the food might be poisoned. In reality, Ren's grandfather has long understood that the Tao family cannot continue as before, but needs to progress with the times and adopt a developmental perspective. He hopes that through this battle, Tao Ren can let go of his obsessions, and is also happy that Ren has so many good friends. Thus ends the journey of the Tao family. The group is set to travel to Tokyo to participate in the Shaman King tournament. On the way to Japan, Ren's father catches up and hands over the family's heirloom silver sword to Ren. This is the first time he has opened up to his son, hoping that Ren will use this sword to carve out his own future. After Yo helped Ren with his family issues, everyone finally returned to Tokyo. Only those who passed the preliminaries could participate in the main Shaman King tournament. Yo was very sad about the impending separation from his friends. Although Hana was usually harsh, she was the one who found it hardest to let go of Yo when the moment of separation came. The day of the main competition arrived. Yo, along with Ryunosuke and Horokyu, who had passed the preliminaries within a day, set off fully prepared. They didn't expect the registration site to be as crowded as a festival. The trio met Ren again, and now the four close friends were officially reunited. While waiting bored for the competition to start, they encountered an unexpected guest, Asaha Doji. The man before them, proclaiming himself the future king, was the great Onmyoji, Asaha Doji. Faced with Horokyu's defiance, Doji struck him mercilessly with a punch. Everyone was too slow to react. The massive spirit of fire overwhelmed them, making it hard to breathe. Ren, unwilling to accept this, launched a counterattack, but was easily dodged by the spirit of fire. Seeing this, Doji mocked Ren for still being impulsive. Doji also revealed that he knew about the incidents at the Tao family, claiming that as the future king, he knew everything. Not only was he personally powerful, but his followers were also highly talented. However, Doji showed particular concern for Yo, advising him to become stronger quickly before leaving. Next, the group was about to board a plane crafted by the Patch tribe's traditional techniques to travel to the competition venue. Since they were all on the same flight, Yo couldn't help but keep looking at Doji, who responded with a sunny smile. Suddenly, an announcement came from the Patch tribe chief, stating that the plane would soon vanish. The competitors would need to reach Patch Village on foot within 3 months. As soon as the announcement ended, the plane disappeared instantly, causing a moment of weightlessness that left everyone disoriented. Horokyu prepared to use his Oversoul to glide down. Unlike the others' panic, Doji used the Spirit of Fire to carry his team, mocking Yo and the others for hitching a ride, especially since Horokyu would run out of energy before reaching the ground. Fortunately, Yo and Ren remained calm. Panicking would only make things worse. Not everyone could fly like Doji. The competition was a test of who could remain calm under extreme conditions. Just before landing, everyone activated their Oversoul and survived the fall. Conveniently, they landed next to a road. Ryunosuke mentioned he still had an unused special move. With the help of a kind-hearted uncle, they reached a town to find the location of Patch Village. Instead of finding the Patch tribe, they discovered a Seinoa tribe folk song claiming the Patch tribe were demons, which confused everyone. It would be helpful to ask someone from the Seinoa tribe. Just then, a woman from the Seinoa tribe blocked their path, demanding Yo stop searching for the Patch tribe. When Ren refused, she summoned a group of dolls that attacked them. As the dolls approached, they morphed into ghosts that severed the limbs of Ren and others. However, their bodies were instantly restored. The woman told Yo and the others that the injuries were fake, but the pain was real. She explained that the pain was caused by the harms brought by the Patch tribe. Then, she pulled Yo and his group into the memories of the Seinoa tribe. 500 years ago, a member of the Patch tribe who proclaimed himself the future king demanded the submission of the Seinoa tribe. With just one move, he slaughtered the Seinoa tribe. Then he summoned the Spirit of Fire to kill the remaining people. Although his appearance was different, everyone was sure he was Doji. The woman, upon learning of Doji's existence and that they were his enemies, no longer troubled them. She even invited them to her home and shared all the information about the Patch tribe with Yo. The next day, as she watched Yo and the others leave, she felt hope for revenge for the first time. However, she would not live to see that day. The claws of the spirit of fire pierced her body. The moment she saw the spirit of fire, she knew that it was this man who had destroyed the Seinoa tribe 500 years ago. In fact, Doji's reincarnation into the Patch tribe was merely to obtain the spirit of fire. The Seinoa tribe was just collateral damage. But by the time the woman realized this, it was too late. The flames of the spirit of fire consumed both her body and soul. This boy's parents were just killed by a mysterious person. He wanted revenge, but a single look from the mysterious person shattered all his courage. Now, the boy has once again provoked the wrong people. Just moments ago, as Yo and his group resumed their search for Patch Village, they were stopped by a boy with green hair. His name is Dethil, and he wants to join Yo's team to go to Patch Village. Hirokyu, suspecting something was off, decided to test him. However, Dethil quickly launched a spirit attached to a crystal pendant towards Hirokyu. Ren stepped in to help, but both he and Hirokyu were instantly defeated by Dethil's formidable strength. Dethil thought he could now officially join Yo's team, but Yo firmly refused. He could not accept someone who harmed his friends. Dethil became desperate to join the team at any cost and, in his eagerness for approval, attacked Yo. This time, Yo was truly angered. He entered his oversoul state and shattered Dethil's pendant. Thinking Dethil would give up, Yo was surprised when Dethil, far from being angry, was actually pleased. He desperately needed a teammate like Yo. To impress Yo, he used his ultimate move. His oversoul pendant moved at the speed of light and formed a gigantic structure in the air. Dethil was frustrated that his ultimate move was so easily countered. However, Yo sensed that Dethil lost because his mind was cluttered, preventing him from fully utilizing his oversoul. Yo punched Dethil to wake him up, prompting him to reveal his past. He once had a happy family. His father was a top detective in London, and his mother was beautiful and gentle. But then, his nightmare began when Doji appeared at his home and took everything away. In front of Doji, he felt utterly insignificant. That's why Dethil was so desperate to join Yo's team, hoping to use the team's strength to defeat Doji. Since they all had the same enemy, they unanimously agreed to let Dethil join the team. Meanwhile, Yo's grandfather in Japan learned of Doji's emergence and urgently summoned Hana. He handed her a secret book capable of defeating Doji, which documented all of Doji's spells. The book contained seals for 2 powerful Shikigami, but to gain Doji's power, they had no choice but to break the seals. Hana immediately picked up the shaman's book to learn the corresponding spells. She quickly mastered a new skill to reseal the Shikigami. Breaking the Shikigami's seal caused a backlash against Doji, but the injury was minor for him. Thus, Hana took the shaman's book and headed to Yo's location. Meanwhile, Dethil's new spirit, being too cute, became the team's favorite, causing Kororo to become jealous and run away from home. Without Kororo, Hirokyu almost fell to his death, but luckily, a ranger saved him. After being unconscious for 3 days, Hirokyu, with a hurt leg, set out to find Kororo and Yo. He learned that a fierce brown bear was nearby, hostile towards humans due to past injuries from poachers. Far from being scared, Hirokyu, dressed in his tribe's attire, went to find the bear. The ranger thought this was suicidal. Hirokyu was not angry because, in his view, all animals are divine beings deserving of respect. It was his duty to persuade the bear to stay away from the human world and return to the deep mountains. Indeed, the bear sensed Hirokyu's sincerity and became docile. However, the poacher who had previously scarred the bear finally took its life. Enraged, Hirokyu wanted the poacher to pay, but the poacher started shooting at humans. Fortunately, Hirokyu used his ice armor to block the bullets. Despite his anger, Hirokyu did not kill the poachers. Instead, he froze them. leaving them to face legal punishment, and then quietly left. This incident strengthened Hirokyu's resolve to become the Shaman King and create a sanctuary for natural beings. After catching up and receiving a beating from Ren for straying, they set off again and reached the ruins of Patch Village. However, as soon as they entered the ruins, they were stopped by a group of people. This man with wings is a descendant of Dracula and the first of Doji's subordinates that Yo and his group have encountered. However, they also witnessed the cruelty of Doji's minions for the first time. Because his companion resembled his own vampire image, he killed him. The rest of Dracula's team calmly watched everything unfold, showing how cold-hearted Doji's subordinates could be. After dealing with his teammate, Dracula instantly attacked Dethel. Ryunosuke came to support him, but Dracula's speed was exceptional, and he even cut off Ryunosuke's new hairstyle. Dracula prepared to attack Hirokyu next, but Ryunosuke knocked Dracula away, declaring, "A head can be severed, but a hairstyle must not be messed up. Blood can flow, but spirit must not be lost." Dracula charged at Ryunosuke again, but was met with Ryunosuke's fist. The enraged Ryunosuke was unstoppable, and his guardian ghost was formidable. Dracula turned his wings into spikes and charged at Ryunosuke, who calmly countered with his Yamata no Orochi. However, the shattered blood turned into countless bats that bit Ryunosuke. Yo tried to help, but was stopped by Dethel, who had been bitten and controlled by Dracula. The group found themselves in a very passive situation. Seeing that the victory was certain, Dracula's other teammates left. Dracula revealed to the group that the one controlling Dethel was his archenemy, a vampire hunter, who had been turned into Dracula's guardian ghost under Doji's guidance. Knowing this, Yo's eyes instantly hardened, reassuring his companions not to worry about him. Facing Dracula's attack, the three surprisingly launched a counterattack without regard for Yo's safety. Consequently, Dracula ordered Dethel to kill Yo. However, Yo had already awakened the self-awareness of his guardian ghost. The understanding among friends allowed them to grasp Yo's plan early on. Under the guidance of Asakura's grandfather, Ryunosuke finally put his newly learned skills to use. Both Dracula and Ryunosuke exhausted their energy at the same time. Unlike Dracula, Ryunosuke had the support of friends. Yo prepared to ask Dracula for information about Doji. A mechanical angel pierced Dracula, and Yo could only watch as Dracula turned to ash. As the only group capable of contending with Doji, the Angel Team X-Laws did not appeal to Yo, especially their leader Marco, who constantly spoke in the name of God, but was inherently arrogant. However, there were no other options at the moment. The two squads temporarily teamed up since all members of the Angel Team were Doji's sworn enemies, making them somewhat favorable to Dethel. Just then, two of Doji's subordinates appeared. Bill charged into battle with his Oversoul against the Angel Team. Marco calmly drew his gun as the Angel Team entered combat mode. They launched 7 Mecha Angels. Their method of activating Oversoul through shooting. These powerful angels matched Doji's spirit of fire. Marco was ready to kill Bill, but Yo naturally could not stand by idly. Facing a god-level shaman, Yo knew he was outmatched, but still rushed forward bravely. In this conflict, Harusami broke again. "We cannot plan together if we do not think alike," as the saying goes. Marco, with his Angel Team, left. Meanwhile, Manta and Anna arrived at the scene. Yo was not found yet, but they encountered Doji. The clever Anna realized that Doji knew she possessed the shaman's book. In reality, Doji hoped Yo would quickly learn from the book to enhance his power, thus advancing his own plans. He was not interested in the shaman's book, but in Anna herself. Anna slapped Doji, who had to admit she had spirit. Besides his mother, no one had ever hit him like that. On another note, Yo learned about the Star Sanctuary from Bill, which was also the final trial of the first stage of the competition. The group headed towards the sanctuary, but upon stepping into the sanctuary, Yo fell into a bewildering, dreamlike world. When he awoke, he found himself in a stone chamber. Silva informed Yo that he had reached Patch Village. The Star Sanctuary's great spirit, which had caused Yo's vision, is the destination for all souls, containing the Earth's 4.6 billion years of memories. Those weak in spirit might lose their souls upon seeing the Great Spirit. Yo's strength was acknowledged by the Spirit King, and Horokyu and Ryunosuke also passed the test. Remarkably, Ren not only remained conscious upon seeing the Great Spirit, but kept staring at it. This girl is ruthless. She managed to buy a keychain worth $380 for just 380 yen, making her the ultimate bargainer. Anna's appearance truly surprised everyone. However, at that moment, a strange guy named Chocolove appeared. Ren was very wary of him, so Chocolove had to explain his purpose. The second round of the competition was a 3-on-3 team elimination match, and the survivors of this round were already dominated by 3 other teams with god-level shamans. Chocolove needed to join Yo's team to continue competing. Knowing the situation, Ren decided to let Chocolove and Horokyu join his own team. Just as things seemed to settle, Faust appeared again. As Manta's nightmare, this time Faust did not do anything bad, but instead pleaded with Yo and others to let him join the team. Faust only wanted to see his wife again, and being alone, he would be eliminated if he couldn't form a team, losing his only chance to become Shaman King and revive his wife. Anna's skills in winning people over are also very high. By letting Faust join, he would loyally serve her. Anna also had another important task during this trip: to hand over the shaman's book to Silva to help the Patch tribe fight against Doji. Silva was worried that without the shaman's book, Yo could not stand against Doji. Little did he know, Anna had already mastered the entire secret book and had even tamed Doji's Shikigami, Zenki, and Goki. The second round of the Shaman King competition officially began. Everyone flew to the venue, excited except for Ren. The entire Tao family came in full force to support him, which embarrassed Ren. According to the tournament draw, Ren's team would face Yo's team in the second round. Regardless of the opponent, Yo was determined to give his all. The Shaman King team elimination matches started, with Ren's team facing Doji's Earth team first. Ren let Chocolove handle the relatively weaker BOZ brothers while he prepared to confront the opposing team's leader. As the referee started the match, the BOZ brothers launched their powerful moves at Chocolove, thinking they had the upper hand. However, their attacks were effortlessly absorbed by Chocolove's Jaguar. Having gauged the enemy's strength, Chocolove unleashed his finishing move, knocking out the BOZ brothers instantly. Next up was the Earth team's leader, Peyote. Surprisingly, the defeated BOZ brothers stood up again, controlled by Peyote's guardian ghost, which had possessed them, catching Chocolove off guard. Facing the Boz brothers' renewed assault, Chocolove dodged easily and even prepared a sneak attack on Peyote. However, Peyote released his Kalaka doll to neutralize the attack. The Kalaka doll, a symbol of the Mexican Day of the Dead linking life and death, represented a unique attack style, but Chocolove did not back down. Despite this, the continuous attacks from the BOZ brothers severely injured Chocolove. He was determined not to give in, recalling his past when he witnessed his parents being shot and his life on the streets before becoming a gang member. His life changed after meeting his mentor, who not only passed on his beloved guardian ghost, Meek, but also taught him all his comedic skills. His mentor was killed in front of him by his former gang leader, which motivated Chocolove to vow never to let anyone close to him get hurt as long as he lived. To support his teammates, Chocolove used his finishing move. The attack did not harm Peyote, who was about to gloat when suddenly all his guardian ghosts uncontrollably started laughing. This is a characteristic of the smile of the wind, causing the Oversoul to go out of control. This move drained all of Chocolove's energy, leaving the rest to Ren. The power of this punch astonished Ryunosuke and the others, as Ren's energy level had reached 5,721. Even Doji couldn't help but marvel at such a rapid increase. After this battle, Chocolove earned everyone's recognition. Next up, Ren would face his opponent, Yo. Is it human nature twisted or morality lost that made this man's once firm hairstyle suddenly wilt and tears of regret flow? The The Shaman King competition continues with the God-level Shaman Team XI taking the stage. Surprisingly, their leader is encased in a device called Iron Maiden. Doji, intrigued, watches the competitors, knowing that X-Law's leader Jean is inside this contraption. Another interesting fact is about Diethel, whom Doji predicted would join the X-Laws 8 years ago, which is why Ryunosuke is so heartbroken. Their opponents are the Egyptian team Niles, featuring the first mummy Khafre, Nacht, who controls pyramids and possesses infinite energy, and the Captain Anatel, who subdued 100,000 slave spirits. It's a formidable lineup that nobody would want to face. However, Jean thinks otherwise and sends Diethel to practice against the Niles team. Diethel shows no mercy, launching a powerful shuttle attack that penetrates Nacht's pyramid and shreds Khafre's mummy, the medium for his summoning. Finally, it's Captain Anatel's turn, who cannot comprehend the attack's speed and is instantly subdued, with Diethel single-handedly overturning the entire Niles team. Diethel has evidently grown much during this period. Fortunately, Diethel spares their lives, relieving Yo, Ryunosuke, and others. Anatel refuses to admit defeat, unleashing his oversoul, Wings of the Dead, where spiritual feathers enter the body through breath, causing death. Diethel, controlling a pendant, prepares to end Anatel for good, but the pendant stops just before him. Diethel's guardian ghost looks on disappointedly at Diethel, blinded by vengeance. Jean can't stand it anymore. Such a Diethel does not deserve to be in X-Laws. God-level energy emanates, causing Anna's prayer beads to vibrate. As the chains unlock, the legendary leader of the X-Laws, the God-level sorceress Jean, finally unveils herself. Such a sweet-looking young girl has been confining herself in a terrifying spiked device, enduring endless pain to atone for the sins of a wicked world in hopes of achieving global peace. At this moment, Marco is moved to tears, whereas their opponent Anatel remains emotionally unswayed, focused only on defeating Jean and winning the match. Yet, Jean instantly traps Anatel in an iron cage with her oversoul, Shamash, the god of justice who bestowed the first laws upon humanity. Jean urges the remaining 2 members of the Niles team to concede defeat, but they recklessly charge at her. Jean advises them to surrender again, but they choose death over submission. Jean reluctantly returns to the Iron Maiden. The second match of the Shaman King elimination round ends in such a brutal manner. How can such a sweet girl be so ruthless? Is the justice that the X-Laws uphold truly just? Yo doesn't know. All he knows is that if there is to be a Shaman King, it seems he must take on the role himself. Next up is Yo's team's turn to take the stage. Their opponents are the Icemen team from Russia, featuring Zora, who can summon the mythical water sprite, Pino, who can summon the god of ravens, and the berserker Gunderson, whose medium is a Viking helmet. The opponents are clearly strong, but Yo and his team are full of confidence. It's time to show the results of their 2 months of training. Look at this 40-meter-long katana. When Yo entered his new Oversoul form, everyone around was stunned, except for Doji, who had anticipated this development. The Asaha family's ancestral sword and the shaman's book were brought out. Of course, the most important aspects were Yo's learning ability and Amidamaru's will, enabling him to transform from an ordinary ghost into the spirit of the sword, a transformation rarely seen in the ghost world. As the referee announced the start of the match, the Icemen team charged at Faust, who appeared to be the weakest. Unexpectedly, Faust, who had lost his legs while healing his beloved, now stood on prosthetic legs made from his pet dog's skeleton. Moreover, the previously soulless Eliza started speaking. The Icemen team, having never seen such a bizarre shaman, was eager to eliminate this necromancer and unhesitatingly unleashed their combined finishing move, shooting numerous ice spikes. Faust shielded his guardian ghost with his own body, bewildering the Icemen team with his madness. They then prepared to target Yo. At this moment, Faust became furious, declaring that no one could harm Yo unless he was dead. 2 months earlier, Yo and Anna had invited Faust to work at their inn in exchange for Anna helping him summon his wife's spirit and teaching him the shaman's book. Faust grasped the essence of necromancy, creating an ultimate oversoul by referencing his ancestor's masterwork, the artificial demon, making Eliza immortal. Proud of his creation, Faust put immense pressure on the Icemen team's leader, Pino. However, Pino quickly regained his composure, knowing a druid must maintain strong convictions. He launched an ice spike attack at Yo, but Ryunosuke sacrificially intercepted it. The Icemen team's morale took another hit when Ryunosuke's burning energy melted their absolute 0-degree ice seal. Their ice spike attack was blocked again, but this was a diversion, covering for Pino's sneak attack. Ryunosuke effortlessly shattered the ice and threw Pino out. Ryunosuke and Faust didn't attack because Yo had ordered them not to, but that didn't mean they were easy targets. With Yo's two subordinates being so formidable, it was clear Yo's power had soared. Feeling insulted by Yo, Pino launched an ice spike attack at him. This time, no one stepped in to block the attack for Yo, yet none of the attacks could harm him. Yo stood still, allowing the opponent to attack. When the Icemen team launched their strongest strike, Yo opened his arms to meet it, remaining unharmed. Hana explained that Yo used his soft energy to block the Icemen's energy. Seeing Yo's performance, Pino had a realization. He prepared to use all his energy, ready to face defeat without regrets. The Icemen team unleashed their ultimate combined technique, creating an iceberg above the arena. The iceberg dove towards Yo, who charged up and delivered his strongest blow, perfectly ending the match. Yo's surge in power put pressure on Ren. The shaman's book was indeed as legendary as rumored. However, just then, the creator of this ancient text appeared. What kind of power is this that turns an indestructible artifact into dust in an instant? Faced with Ren, who just refused to join his team, Doji uses a minor trick to plunge Ren into deep fear. Meanwhile, after the match, Yo finds Daethel and asks him how he is doing in the angel team. Although Daethel doesn't say much, the observant Yo senses that Daethel is not doing well. However, as Yo prepares to leave, Marco, leading the angel team, surrounds him. Marco not only treats Daethel harshly, but also accuses Yo of being a spy sent by Doji. Just as Marco is about to strike, Jean stops him. Jean highly regards Yo's strength and hopes he will join her team to fight against Doji, but Yo declines. This deeply saddens Jean. Marco is ready to vent his leader's frustration, but Yo now possesses great power. With Jean's intervention, both sides stand down. Let all disputes be settled in tomorrow's match. The next day's match featured a heavyweight showdown. The X-Law's X3 team versus Doji's Team Star. Faced with the formidable challengers, Doji had his subordinates forfeit directly to increase the challenge of the match. He expressed a desire to have all members of X-Laws take the stage, which infuriated the X3 team as they had never encountered such arrogance. As they activated their oversouls, the trio summoned divine mechanical angels, each with over 8,000 power. However, Doji found it boring. Facing their aggressive attack, Doji summoned the Spirit of Fire and instantly dispersed the enemy, instantly killing Mean. The remaining members of the X3 team emotionlessly watched their companion turn to ashes, then launched a second attack. Seben summoned a mechanical angel and charged at Doji, only to be instantly killed by the Spirit of Fire again. Daethel knew they weren't insensitive, but were risking their lives to find Doji's weakness. X3 team captain Chris, despite severe injuries, discovered the fatal weakness of the Spirit of Fire. It relies on oxygen as a medium for summoning. However, Doji seemed unconcerned about this. Why is that? This grenade has the power equivalent to a nuclear bomb. The X3 team captain plans to use it to die together with Doji. Doji, however, does not respond and quietly watches his performance. A strong barrier ensures that the explosion does not affect the audience. Although thick smoke billows, Yo senses that Doji has not died. More surprisingly, Doji's Spirit of Fire has disappeared, replaced by a Spirit of Rain. No wonder Doji was unconcerned about Chris discovering his weakness. As the strongest on Myoji, Doji mastered the essence of the 5 elements centuries ago and achieved the ability to switch between them at will. 500 years ago, to obtain the ultimate oversoul, Spirit of Fire, Doji intentionally reincarnated into the Patch tribe. After acquiring the Spirit of Fire, he combined Onmyodo and Oversoul to freely switch spirit attributes, becoming the great Onmyoji Asaha Doji. From the surname Asaha, everyone learned of the connection between Doji and Yo. Yo was not intentionally hiding this. At this moment, Doji's energy level is at least 1.2 million. He did not want his friends to risk their lives for him. Doji's strength left everyone present feeling hopeless. Yet this was not the end. The mere destruction of the body could not demonstrate his majesty. Doji summoned the souls of the 10 team members, not willing to waste such excellent spirits. The match was temporarily halted due to damage to the arena. Silva found the host and obtained Doji's match recordings, hoping to find a way to defeat him. At the same time, another group was also taking action to defeat Doji. Yo's parents unexpectedly visited Ren's grandfather. Representing the Asaha family, they sought help from the Tao family, hoping that Ren could learn the shaman's book to assist the Asaha family in combating Doji. However, Ren, being a prodigy of the Tao family, was intensively trained by Tao En, who would only agree if Yo's father, Asakura Mikihisa, could defeat him. The duel between the fathers ended with Tao En's defeat. Next, they would need to win over Ren. This is a divine weapon that merges countless arms, Ren's latest Oversoul. Mikihisa tried to take him as a disciple but was rejected, which is understandable given Ren's pride as a genius unwilling to be taught by someone from the Asaha family. Seizing this opportunity, Mikihisa tested the power of the divine artifact, the Silver Sword. He summoned a Shikigami and attacked Ren, with the Silver Sword forming an array of thousands of weapons that crushed the Shikigami to dust. Armed with the Silver Sword, which combines thousands of blades, and the Ghost of Basin, who fought battles 1800 years ago, Ren was significantly empowered. However, an unexpected turn occurred when Mikihisa and his Shikigami reappeared. In his eyes, Ren's strength was unimpressive. Mikihisa's speed dumbfounded Ren, who activated the Silver Sword to create distance, followed by a barrage of attacks. Mikihisa easily countered, and with a single strike sent Ren flying. After being injured by an infant Doji years ago, Mikihisa underwent rigorous training, challenging mountain after mountain to forge his will, and eventually climbed Mount Everest using only his physical strength. Such prowess was not something the current Ren could overcome. Ren was expected to obediently learn the shaman's book, but the stubborn young man refused. Thus, these two unsympathetic individuals watched Ren get beaten while enjoying their barbecue. Ren knew there were many competitors stronger than him in the tournament, but admitting weakness meant losing sight of victory. Therefore, Ren would rather die than admit defeat. Mikihisa, impressed by his friend Yo, planned to teach a few people the shaman's book, but first, he had to deal with a few unwelcome guests. This woman is ruthless. She knocked a poor little boy away and wasn't done yet. She wanted the souls of these two children to completely dismantle Mikihisa's team and prevent him from participating in the Shaman King tournament. At this critical moment, a figure kicked away the guardian ghost, revealing it was Anna and Jun, who had rushed to the scene after receiving a message from Silva. On the other side, two traitors from the Patch tribe, along with Peyote and others, surrounded Mikihisa. Although Ren helped distract them, allowing Mikihisa to retreat, he didn't have time to rescue Redzeb and Seirarm. Fortunately, Silva had received early information and notified Yo and Anna, temporarily resolving the crisis. Ren fought against 3 enemies alone. Zhang Qing's Oversoul was a panda, but Ren didn't care what it was. Seeing Zhang Qing injured, Tabarsi immediately released a laser cannon, which surprisingly missed Ren and allowed him to counterattack. Ren, a true genius, learned some shaman's book spells from Mikihisa during the fight, although these spells were only basic ones which they had already learned from Doji. Ren seemed to have won, but he actually caused no harm to the others. Moreover, Ren was shocked to learn that a Patch tribe priest named Nikram was the brother of a Patch tribe examiner he had once killed. While Ren was distracted, a long sword pierced through his body, and he fell into a pool of blood, attacked by Peyote's new Oversoul. Hirokyu and Chocolove, in shock, realized this attack could take Ren's life. They desperately wished Ren could rise again, but they were no match for Peyote and his allies. Even their strongest moves seemed trivial to the opponents. Hirokyu did his best to block Tabarsi's attack and used his remaining energy to freeze Ren's wound. Somehow, they must find a way to save Ren quickly. But can the two escape successfully? The boy's chest was pierced by a huge blade, leaving his life hanging in the balance. Hirokyu froze Ren's wound and prepared to join forces with Chocolove to fight the enemy, hoping to defeat them quickly and take Ren to the hospital. However, reality harshly shattered their illusion. They were too weak. Zhangqing easily defeated them, and Nikram further taunted them by revealing that Hirokyu and the others had a mere 2,000 energy points, not even enough to qualify for the Shaman King tournament. Shocked and speechless, they were filled with humiliation and frustration. Zhangqing, having had his fun, was ready to kill them both when suddenly, it seemed as if Doji appeared before him. But it was actually Yo. Seeing Ren severely injured, Yo knew it was Nikram's distraction that caused it. Ren was no longer the merciless killer he once was. Nikram, unwilling to give up, ordered Peyote and others to quickly kill Yo. However, Peyote was no fool. They knew they were no match for Yo, especially with two strong men glaring at them from the sidelines. Nikram fled in terror. Just when it seemed Ren might be saved, Faust declared that Ren's severe injuries were beyond even divine help. Hirokyu could not accept his friend's death or Yo's apparent indifference, not knowing Yo had already made his own plans. Several kilometers away, in a luxury car, Manta was extremely nervous, his fear stemming from a girl sitting in the back seat. On the other side, Anna and Kana, two beautiful women, faced off against each other. However, Anna did not rush to attack. Instead, she let Jun warm up first. Kana's guardian ghost was an armored knight, but their guardian ghosts were not on the same level. One moment, the armored knight was formidable. The next, it was reduced to scrap metal by Pyron. After Pyron was severely dismantled by Tao En, Jun not only repaired Pyron, but also used mechanical technology to enhance its physical body. This added extra mechanical impact to Pyron's original moves, multiplying the damage. However, such modifications, which went against the spirit of martial artists, truly displeased Pyron. Doji's subordinates were not so easy to deal with. Now it's time to see how Kana will retaliate. This man has experienced thousands of years of life and death reincarnations, boosting his energy to as high as 1.25 million. In order to increase her power, this adorable girl even dared to enter a torture device full of spikes, pushing herself close to death. For a shaman, the closer to death, the easier it is to transform. Jean is certain that if Ren survives this ordeal, his energy will increase by at least 50,000. However, as the price for reviving Ren, Yo must withdraw from the Shaman King competition. Clearly, no one understands Yo's actions, but both parties have no choice. Yo cannot stand by and watch Ren die, and Jean cannot allow Doji to consume Yo and grow even stronger. Thus, Yo's withdrawal is a temporary measure. Just like that, Yo officially withdrew from the Shaman King competition. With the competition's start time approaching, Doji's flower team becomes increasingly aggressive. A battle is imminent. However, the girls of the flower team never expected that Tamao's two guardian ghosts would turn out to be perverts, which is truly embarrassing. This infuriates the members of the flower team, who prepare to seriously teach them a lesson. Meanwhile, Anna chooses not to linger in battle. She has a bad feeling and must meet up with Yo quickly, leaving the rest to Tamao and Jun. Anna urgently took the siblings to the competition venue. She noticed that Seirarm, her sister, had a vacant look and had not spoken a word from the beginning. It turned out that 3 years ago, their father was murdered by an unknown assailant, and Seirarm, the only witness, developed autism due to the trauma. Red Seb joined the Shaman King competition to find his father's killer and help his sister recover. They were not shamans. Their participation was made possible by an invincible golem left by their father. Seirarm called out to the sky, summoning a huge golem that descended from above, allowing the siblings to make it to the competition on time. Meanwhile, Jun and Tamao were not as fortunate, as Kana and the others' strength far exceeded their expectations. This cat is 1,000 years old. His name is Matamune. He followed Doji to the Asaha family 10,000 years ago and has lived there ever since. Now he is accompanying Yo to Mount Osore to meet Yo's fiancée, Hana. Although it is their first meeting, Matamune immediately sees that Yo, despite his cheerful appearance, is incredibly lonely inside. Yo's identity and the mission he carries unconsciously distance him from his classmates. Therefore, Yo is somewhat excited about meeting Hana, knowing she could unlock his heart. Mount Osore, one of Japan's 3 most haunted mountains, is shrouded in sulfuric steam, making it a fearsome place. However, it is believed to be where the spirits of the dead return, facilitating better communication with them. Yo finds this chilling, yet Matamune learned it from a tourist brochure, so its true nature remains to be seen. Yo's grandmother, a shaman, lives in the cold region of Shimokita. Matamune last saw her 50 years ago and plans to revisit old times with her. Before leaving, Matamune advises Yo to always stay true to himself. Yo has many questions, and as he runs after Matamune, a cute girl appears before him. Yo's timid look infuriates Hana, making her question how such a person could be her husband. Yo's confusion deepens as Hana looks down on him. At that moment, a blue demon emerges from the water, intent on devouring Yo. Yo runs, attempting to use his signature skill, which fails to harm the demon. Frightened, Yo nearly wets himself, but Matamune arrives just in time. Remaining calm, he informs Yo that the blue demon is a malevolent spirit, but with his presence, there is no need to worry. Hana watches from the side. Matamune does not reveal the origins of the evil spirit, but instead comforts a frightened Yo. This man was Asaha Doji, the strongest onmyoji from 1,000 years ago, when Matamune, a common kitten who could see spirits, first met Doji. Doji took pity on him and kept him by his side. The pendant, infused with Doji's power, allowed Matamune to transform into human form. Through his time with Doji, Matamune learned that Doji mastered all forms of divination and witchcraft, feared by demons and spirits alike, yet he had a very kind heart. Doji possessed a gift called reishi, which allowed him to grasp others' emotions and movements effortlessly without seeing or hearing them. However, the stronger this power, the more he was forced to absorb the thoughts of others, including intense hatred and resentment which corroded his spirit, eventually giving rise to an evil spirit within him. In the chaotic era 1,000 years ago, with greedy nobles and suffering commoners, Doji saw too much darkness and decided to become the shaman king to destroy the world. Yo's grandmother thought Doji's actions were merely acts of cowardice, believing that true strength should change the world, not destroy it. Matamune, knowing this, joined forces with Asaha Yoken in the Shaman King competition 500 years ago to kill Doji. Matamune still deeply regrets killing his benefactor. Fortunately, now he has a chance to help Yo, who represents Doji's kind reincarnation, and Hana, who also has the reishi gift, to finally resolve his 1,000-year bond. The evil spirit Yo had encountered was actually summoned by Hana's reishi gift, though at the time, neither Yo nor Hana knew this. Yo's grandmother believed that only together could Yo and Hana create miracles. When Yo met Hana again, he rashly questioned her about the encounter with the evil spirit, which led to Hana slapping him and then telling him to quickly leave Mount Osore before she turned and walked away. However, when Yo followed her, a shocking scene unfolded. Numerous spirits converged upon Hana, ultimately forming a massive evil spirit. The spirit immediately attacked Yo upon noticing him. Unexpectedly, the spirit, which was supposed to be incorporeal, could shatter physical objects. The shopkeeper, unable to see the spirit, thought Yo had damaged his store and prepared to deal with him. Meanwhile, the evil spirit attacked both of them indiscriminately. Hana knew Yo was no match for the powerful spirit, but Yo, fearless, confronted the spirit, thinking only an evil spirit could fight another. Why is this person so foolish? To risk his life for strangers? Hana wondered. As Hana cried out, the evil spirit turned to ashes, leaving her stunned. What just happened? This girl has the innate ability to summon massive evil spirits. Her curse-like power makes her isolated because she possesses the same ability as the onmyoji Doji. Hana can see into people's hearts and materialize various grudges into evil spirits through her reishi power. Not wanting others to be harmed because of her, she stays at Yo's grandmother's house. Although Yo does not have reishi, he understands Anna's pain and cannot bear to see her suffer alone. Anna initially wanted to question Yo's motives, but the atmosphere changed subtly when she realized Yo's feelings for her. She knew Yo liked her and wanted her to overcome her pain. Yo, determined to become the Shaman King, vows to do everything to help Anna break free from her troubles. To cheer her up, Yo decides to take Anna to a temple fair to relax. However, this decision leads to trouble. Human New Year prayers are essentially expressions of inner desires. In tough economic times, these desires intensify, potentially giving rise to a big ghost. Yo's grandmother is extremely worried, but Matamune sees this as the best opportunity to resolve emotional issues. Indeed, numerous stray thoughts invade Anna, giving rise to many evil spirits. Matamune arrives just in time to protect them, but he underestimates Anna's energy. As the stray thoughts increase, the evil spirits start devouring each other. Being too close to Mount Osore, countless resentful spirits are attracted and merge into the evil spirits, rapidly increasing their strength and eventually forming a big ghost. The big ghost moves swiftly, knocking Matamune back with a single punch, overpowering even him. Since the evil spirit originates from Anna, Yo hopes that by thinking happy thoughts, she can disperse the evil spirit as before. Fortunately, Matamune was not injured. This big ghost had amassed 1,080 souls, and Matamune's remaining energy was dwindling. He had to make a desperate move. With the help of the shaman's book, Matamune and the big ghost fought back and forth. However, Anna sensed that Matamune's energy was rapidly depleting. Matamune needed to resolve the situation with the big ghost quickly. He thought his next strike would be decisive, but the big ghost amputated its arm to survive and captured Anna, the source of its power, planning to use her to further increase its strength. The evil spirit rushed towards Mount Osore. If the big ghost reached there, everything would be over, as the spirits there could evolve it to a divine level. The situation was critical. Yo and Matamune had to stop the big ghost immediately. However, heavy snow had closed the paths to Mount Osore, making it inaccessible to humans. Yo was frantic, but luckily, he met the owner of a general store at the fair who managed to get a snowmobile. He took them to Mount Osore, where the big ghost had been waiting. Its injuries had fully healed, and its power had greatly increased. More surprisingly, Anna had begun to despair. She despised humanity and did not want anyone near her. The resentment that had built up inside her over time erupted, much like Asaha Doji years ago. Faced with the big ghost's attack, Matamune was resolute, while Yo was in immense pain. Yo activated a possession fusion, drawing on the shaman's book. The big ghost, disdainful, prepared to kill Yo. However, Yo swiftly severed the big ghost's hand with a single strike. Yo was not triumphant because the cost of such power was the permanent loss of Matamune. For 1,000 years, due to the energy of Doji, Matamune's soul was immortal, but energy inevitably depletes. The battle with the big ghost caused Matamune's energy to rapidly decline. To defeat the big ghost, Matamune had to merge with Yo. Previously, Matamune had failed to keep his promise. Now, he had a chance to help Yo retrieve Anna, resolving a long-standing issue. Anna watched Yo, shocked. Why would someone willingly sacrifice their life for her? The big ghost, craving power, fueled Anna's negative emotions. However, Anna had an epiphany and confessed her feelings to Yo. In a rage, the big ghost launched a lethal attack towards Anna. In this critical moment, Yo cleared all the lesser spirits. With little energy left, it was time to annihilate the big ghost and also to say goodbye to Matamune. Yo vowed that one day he would acquire the same power as the man who could resurrect Matamune. The big ghost turned to ash. This was Yo's first encounter with Oversoul, marking the start of his quest for power. The big ghost transformed into numerous spirit beads, which Yo's grandmother later fashioned into a charm for Anna. Yo also kept Matamune's pendant. After the turmoil, Yo prepared to return to Tokyo. Just before he left, his grandmother handed him a letter. As Yo hesitated to open it, Anna appeared. Having resolved her emotional issues, She was ready to start a new life and specifically came to thank Yo for his help before getting off the car. Yo then opened the letter, which contained a poem written by Matamune. This girl was preparing to resurrect the body in front of her through a kiss. However, just as Jin was about to cast the spell, Ryunosuke burst in. Ryunosuke thought Jan was giving the kiss, but it was actually Shamash. Ren was successfully resurrected, but instead of thanking Jan, he accused her of meddling. Seeing his boss being mistreated, Marco summoned an angel to take down this arrogant young man. Ren felt his energy increase 100-fold, but even with his newfound strength, Yo had to keep his promise to withdraw from the Shaman King tournament. However, Yo was facing a dire situation. He withdrew from the contest to save Ren, which Anna expected. She admired this about Yo, yet she was upset he didn't consult her first, and a scolding was inevitable. Just as Anna left, Ren reappeared. Seeing Ren alive filled Yo with joy. This brush with death helped Ren cut ties with his past. Ren thanked Yo for giving him a second chance at life, and vowed to become a better person with this bond. Meanwhile, Hirokyu and Chocolove encountered Doji's subordinate, Bill, who intended to kill the members of the Icemen team as a sacrifice to the spirit of fire. Hirokyu wanted to help the Icemen team, but after fighting with the X-Laws, Bill and his mysterious ally Brocken had become much stronger, with an energy level of 200,000 compared to Hirokyu's 2,000. Still, Hirokyu charged forward without hesitation. To Bill, Hirokyu's actions seemed more foolish than brave. The real gap in strength wasn't something a few catchy slogans could overcome. Bill quickly overpowered the Icemen team and Hirokyu. Watching from afar, Hirokyu's father saw everything but refused to intervene, despite Parika's pleas. Planning to leave the island, Hirokyu's father attracted Bill's attention, who thought he could kill this powerful man as an offering to Doji. However, Hirokyu's father easily defeated him with his spirit, and then sailed off into the ocean on a raft. Seeing the situation turning sour, Brocken prepared for a quick battle by initiating a possession fusion. Facing Brocken, whose energy was hundreds of times his own, could Hirokyu escape unscathed? This is a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex made of Lego pieces. However, facing Brocken, whose energy was hundreds of times his own, Hirokyu was fearless. The area had turned into a vast icy world, all with ice attributes. Hirokyu transformed the Icemen team's guardian ghosts into natural spirits, temporarily using them for himself. Hirokyu understood the risk of mental breakdown from forcibly increasing his energy, but this was his only chance to defeat Brocken. Brocken charged forward in his Lego dinosaur. Hirokyu's attacks had no effect on him. So, Hirokyu summoned a second Oversoul, a huge water column that surged towards Brocken, followed by a third Oversoul, turning the water into countless ice blades, shattering the Lego dinosaur. Hirokyu's rapid progress was impressive, but it still did not bridge the gap in energy. Brocken then reassembled into a giant Lego tank. Hirokyu's skills were linked seamlessly. From the moment he froze the entire beach, he had planned to push Brocken into the sea. Brocken was trapped in ice, but this exhausted Hirokyu's last bit of energy. The perfect blend of power and wisdom astonished the onlookers. Turns out, Brocken's Oversoul was made up of countless mice. Just then, as Bill woke up and tried to sneak attack Hirokyu, Dethel intervened and saved him. Before Bill woke up, Dethel, now a member of the Angel team, had received his own angel and was excited to test its power. He saw Bill preparing the sneak attack and eliminated him. Peyote and others found Bill's body, taking it as a provocation against Doji. At this time, Yo and his team were planning their next moves for the Shaman King tournament, when they received unexpected visitors. Peyote was ready to wipe them out, but Ryunosuke was not one to back down easily. Yo, not wanting to entangle with Doji's men outside the tournament, instructed Eliza to lead the group to escape. Zhang Qing attempted a sneak attack but was easily defeated by Ren. Ignoring Yo's advice, Ryunosuke decided to wipe out the Earth team, but they were not going to give up easily. Yo received information from Amidamaru that Ryunosuke hadn't joined them but was entangled with the Earth team. However, Peyote's new oversoul was too strong and quickly overpowered Ryunosuke. In a state of unconsciousness, Ryunosuke seemed to enter a heavenly world filled with majestic Buddhas. He made a wish to find a wife as good as Anna before he died. It seemed Buddha heard his prayer as a female bodhisattva descended from the sky, defeating Peyote's oversoul with a single punch. Not only did the bodhisattva appear, but she was accompanied by countless Buddhas, making up the powerful Gandhara team, capable of rivaling Doji and Jan. Ryunosuke was astounded, and even more so when the bodhisattva knew his real name. Gandhara's leader, Sati, initially did not want to get involved in senseless conflicts. She intervened because she sensed Yo's compassionate heart. Seeing the situation turn against him, Peyote immediately fled. Elsewhere, Chocolove went to the suburbs alone, hoping to catch up with his former brothers. To his shock, he found that all his friends had been killed. The murderers turned out to be Red Seb and Seirarm, who were controlling a golem, and insisted that the killers of their father were Chocolove and his brothers. Not only the shamans made progress in the Shaman King tournament, but the strength of the golems also increased, even gaining reishi abilities similar to those of Doji and Anna. When the golem detected the thoughts of Chocolove and his group and identified them as the murderers, it disregarded Mikihisa's attempts to stop it and went for revenge. With his last breath, Mikihisa summoned a Shikigami to inform Yo to aid Chocolove. The golem's attacks were relentless, but Chocolove, using his speed advantage, managed to smash the golem to pieces. Regretting that he had killed their father, Chocolove realized it was because their father had killed his brothers first. Despite being shattered, the golem's power was formidable as it began to auto-repair. Watching the massive golem reassemble, Chocolove could only give a wry smile. This is a golem from 5,000 years ago, whose every attack shakes the earth. However, it cannot inflict any damage on Yo. Yo believes that since Red Seb has killed Chocolove and completed his revenge, he should stop there. But Red Seb thinks his sister has not yet returned to normal, suggesting Chocolove might not be completely dead. He is half right. Chocolove's physical body is indeed dead, but his soul likely still clings to it. Ryunosuke takes the bodies of Chocolove and the others to seek help from Gandhara. Red Seb activates the golem to kill Yo, but Yo is not one to be slaughtered easily. This is the first time someone has emerged unscathed from Yo's attacks, showing the terrifying strength of the current golem. Fortunately, the golem's attacks are linear, making them easy for Yo to dodge. As Yo pressed forward, Seirarm, the sister, switched the golem to flight mode and began indiscriminate bombing of the ground. It seemed Yo was turned to ash, but with the help of Spirit of Sword, Yo managed to sever the golem's head with a single strike. When will this cycle of vengeance end? Overcome by rage, Red Seb finally came to his senses and regretted the blood on his hands. This is a new form of the golem, one that even Red Seb has never seen before. Yet Yo remains calm. He summons Amidamaru to soften the impact of his fall. At this point, Yo is bleeding profusely, indicating a need to retreat as his injuries are more severe than anticipated. With a clear mind, Yo recalls the resurrections of Ren and Ryunosuke. If Jin and Sati can accomplish that, then so can Yo. Just then, Seirarm locates Yo's hiding place through the golem and switches it to a new combat mode, preparing to eliminate Yo. An invincible golem with 550,000 energy points is like a toy in the hands of Spirit of Fire. Doji plans to take control of the golem, aiming for the ultimate evolution by having Spirit of Fire devour it. Yo is surprised by Doji's appearance, but the safety of ordinary people is his priority. All of Doji's subordinates arrive, surrounding Yo and Red Seb. Delighted with acquiring the golem, Doji reveals its secret. Red Seb can control the golem because it possesses advanced energy storage capabilities, a rare technology akin to a battery, giving the golem an impressive 550,000 energy points. Surprisingly, the real controller of the golem turns out to be their father's spirit. The golem managed to inflict some damage on the Spirit of Fire, but that was all. As Red Seb's friend, Yo would not allow Doji to harm the golem. However, at this moment, Yo couldn't even defeat Zhang Qing or Peyote, let alone Doji. This was the reality of their power difference. Doji advised his brother not to meddle and then ordered the spirit of fire to devour the golem. Yet Yo was not about to let Doji succeed and launched an attack using his last bit of energy. Enraged, Doji was about to punish Yo when Dethel appeared and snatched the golem away. Hirokyu and Ren restrained Doji's subordinates. Dethel had witnessed Chocolove being killed but did not intervene because Doji had killed his own parents. He deeply empathized with Redseb's feelings. However, a conversation between Yo and Redseb made him realize that endless vengeance is pointless. Valuing present friendships over seeking revenge held more meaning. Thus, risking everything, he called on Ren and others to help. Unfortunately, Doji hardly cared for the few in front of him, unable to comprehend their foolish friendships. As the strongest oversoul, the spirit of fire consumes 330,000 energy points per summon. Doji himself has over 1,250,000 energy points, allowing him to summon such a powerful oversoul 3 times. Camel, operating a golem with 550,000 energy points, feels powerless because his deep obsession with his golem research at the time of his death has turned him into an earthbound spirit. He is completely unaware of Redseb's presence. Yo believes that Redseb can awaken his father, but it will take some time. During this period, Yo and his friends will buy time for Redseb. Doji quickly recognizes that Yo's spirit sword is inspired by Matamune, which evokes a rare sense of melancholy in him. To everyone's surprise, Doji then leaves. He is a truly unpredictable man. Although Doji has left, the golem crisis is not over. Camel, having lost his self-awareness, attacks Yo and others. Camel and Mikihisa were old friends who hit it off immediately. Camel knew his research was very dangerous and could eventually lead to his death. Thus, he asked Mikihisa to look after his children after he died. Now, with Mikihisa severely injured, Yo must take over. Currently, Yo is seriously injured and must flee with Dethel's help. The golem, needing a soul to restore energy, relentlessly pursues them. Everyone believes that Camel has completely succumbed to evil, but Redseb is convinced that his father would not be so heartless. He is prepared to use his own life to awaken his father. Ren instructs Dethel to stop, planning for everyone to escape if Redseb fails, with himself staying behind to cover their retreat. The golem's energy is running low. Despite Redseb's calls, Camel still launches an attack. Shockingly, a terrifying laser is deflected by a giant figure, who turns out to be Chocolove, previously thought dead. Facing Camel, Chocolove calmly admits he was the one who killed him years ago. Unable to accept his own death, Camel roars and charges at Chocolove, intent on making him vanish. However, even without using Oversoul, Chocolove dodges and attacks the golem. Ren quickly notices the intricacy of the situation. The entire battle area is filled with a web-like energy net. Chocolove moves freely on this net, which is generated by his summoned Oversoul. Everyone meets Chocolove's master for the first time. He explains that Chocolove was once terrified of the dark and strayed into many misdeeds. Fortunately, meeting Yo and his friends brought him back from the brink of death, with a sincere soul ready to atone for his sins. Chocolove then activates a dual Oversoul for a finishing move. Chocolove's strongest attack still fails to disable the golem. The golem has high defensive and attack power, while Chocolove is fast. The battle quickly escalates into an intense clash between two resilient souls. However, just then, their most powerful strikes are interrupted by Zenki and Goki. Anna wakes up Yo, who was pretending to be dead, declaring that the farce must end. Camel regains consciousness, feeling deeply guilty as he looks at his son, Redseb. He regrets not spending enough time with his children due to his obsession with his research on the golem, which almost led him to kill his own son after his death. He feels he can never forgive himself and considers destroying the golem and himself as the only way out. However, Anna will not allow Camel to do this. She insists on keeping the golem to defeat Doji and argues that the children still need their father's presence. It's time for him to atone for his lifetime of mistakes. Meanwhile, Opacho, who has the ability to read minds, cannot understand Doji's motives. He cannot fathom why Doji would pass up the opportunity to become an entity like the Great Spirit by letting the Spirit of Fire devour the golem. It turns out Doji abandoned the golem for Yo's sake, recognizing his brother's weakness. The golem could assist Yo, and Doji hopes that when Matamune returns one day, Yo will also be there to witness their reunion. With Camel joining, Yo's team grows stronger, and it seems every lost soul finds its way back. Having experienced life and death, Chocolove has grown not only in power, but also in spirit, far beyond his past self. Yo learns from Ryunosuke that when Chocolove was resurrected, he voluntarily asked Gandara to take away his sight as a form of atonement for his past. Chocolove hopes that one day, with the wind of his smile, he can melt the iceberg in Sirarm's heart and restore the smile to the girl he once hurt. Although Yo has withdrawn from the shaman tournament, it continues as usual. Due to various reasons, only 39 competitors are still in the fight, and most of them are members of the God-tier teams. However, those who have withdrawn from the competition might not be able to leave the island alive, as Doji's forces seem to be hunting souls recently. Kalim, one of the 10 priests, thinks this practice is inappropriate. On the other hand, Magna and Nikram believe that this cruelty embodies the true spirit of the shaman tournament. Nikram also suggests that the Grand Elder should deal with the traitor Silva, who attempted to steal the remaining elemental spirits of the Patch tribe. Punishing him early would also deter other priests. Consequently, the Grand Elder sends 2 priests to discipline Silva. The official schedule of the shaman tournament is still ongoing. Yo has just watched a match by Gandara, which was indeed breathtaking. Ryunosuke has now become a fan of Sati, believing she might defeat Doji and become the shaman king. However, a voice suddenly asserts that Doji will definitely become the shaman king. It's then they realize Opacho has arrived. Opacho claims to be running errands for Doji. Yet, when Ryunosuke tries to capture Opacho as a hostage, Opacho transforms into a sheep and kicks Ryunosuke away. Only then does he inform Yo that Doji has asked him to rejoin the shaman tournament, and if Yo disobeys, Doji will kill all his friends, with Opacho also staying close to monitor Yo. During dinner, Anna asked Yo what he really thought. Yo lost his appetite discussing it. Doji's conditions left him no room to refuse, but Yo still didn't know what to do. He wished he hadn't been so definitive when he withdrew from the competition. After dinner, Yo walked sadly through the fields. Amidamaru had long noticed Yo's poor mood. Ever since learning Doji was his brother, Yo had wanted to become stronger. However, after being injured by a golem, he realized how weak he still was. Now, Doji was forcing him back into the shaman tournament, leaving Yo feeling very lost. Suddenly, Amidamaru drew his sword and placed it at Yo's neck. Yo remarked that Amidamaru had indeed become stronger, but Amidamaru said that his immaturity had led to many failures. Yet failure helps one grow. Now that Yo had tasted defeat, he shouldn't dwell on the past, but follow his heart. Yo then remembered Matamune saying something similar, and thought of all his supportive friends. He realized he needed to buck up for them. But then he remembered he had thrown his oracle bell on the riverbank. As he spoke, the oracle bell appeared on the ground. Anna had retrieved it. Yo was worried that his unilateral decision to quit the competition had angered Anna, but she comforted him, saying his decision had saved Ren's life. Now that Yo planned to re-enter the competition, he must give it his all. Gratefully picking up the oracle bell, Yo resolved to do his best. However, since he had previously promised Jean, he needed X-Law's approval to rejoin. Yo immediately went to find the X-Laws. Marco scolded Yo for being inconsistent, but Yo explained that he had no choice and was now determined to fight everyone in the shaman tournament. Marco decided to teach Yo a lesson and raised his gun to unleash the Archangel's flame. A group of Archangels attacked Yo with the ferocity of a storm, but Yo agilely dodged all their strikes. While Lysurg tried to mediate, Yo told him to stay out of the way and then swung his great sword at the angels. Marco was shocked by Yo's immense power, noting his rapid growth in just a few days. He realized that if Doji absorbed Yo, he would gain even greater strength, so Marco prepared to completely eliminate Yo. He planned to strike a fatal blow while Yo was dealing with 3 angels, but suddenly, an intense explosion occurred in the air. Marco's Michael was split in half by Yo. Marco, seeing 2 Yos, was in disbelief. Yo then revealed that he had borrowed 2 guardian ghosts from his father to impersonate him and test the strength of the X-Laws. As the other Archangels attacked again, Yo jumped past the encircling angels and charged at the X-Laws members. Fortunately, Marco summoned Michael again to block their path. While the two were still arguing, a man in a cloak emerged. Marco immediately recognized him as Luchist, the founder of X-Laws, who now served Doji. He had come to help Yo eliminate the obstacles to re-entering the tournament. Seeing Luchist, the X-Laws members were filled with hatred and directed their archangels to attack him. However, the archangels were instantly sliced apart by a pitch-black archangel. The X-Laws members collapsed, drained of energy. Marco, observing the black archangel named Lucifer, suspected he could single-handedly destroy the X-Laws. Thus, Marco decisively engaged Luchist in battle. The X-Laws under Marco's leadership were his creation, and he wouldn't allow Luchist to destroy them. After a swift and fierce fight, Marco was overpowered by Luchist, who had mastered the shaman's book. However, Luchist did not pursue a fatal outcome. He intended to send Marco back to their homeland instead. Unwilling to leave, Marco left Luchist with no choice but to kill him. But Yo suddenly intervened, stating he was there to re-enter the tournament, not to kill. If Luchist used this opportunity to settle a personal score with Marco, Yo would not stand by idly. At that moment, Marco stood up again and removed his X-Law's uniform. It turned out that Marco was raised by Luchist, who not only sent him to college, but also helped him establish X-Laws. Now Marco couldn't accept that Luchist, whom he had revered, had sided with Doji. He resolved to settle things with Luchist once and for all today. Seeing Marco's determination, Luchist also took off his coat. Since Marco had revealed his personal combat uniform, Luchist felt obliged to show respect by doing the same, although his own battle attire looked quite informal. Clearly, the two were cut from the same cloth. Yo and Lysurg didn't want to stand by idly. They had planned to stop the fight, but they were now unable to intervene, forced to watch Marco and Luchist fight fiercely. Lysurg even considered calling Jean for backup. However, Yo noticed that Luchist wasn't fighting at full strength and speculated that Luchist might want to eliminate Jean as well. Seeing Marco about to lose, Yo urged Lysurg to help, but Lysurg lacked confidence against such a formidable enemy. Yo then embraced Lysurg and shared his plan. By the time Marco was thoroughly defeated, Luchist was about to end Marco's life when Yo intervened and repelled Luchist. Luchist was puzzled by this. Yo explained that he had intended to persuade the X-Laws, not to annihilate them. Seeing this, Luchist no longer held back. At a critical moment, Shamash used a cage to protect Yo. It turned out, Jean had appeared. Luchist thought Lysurg had called Jean for rescue, but this Jean was a fake. Lysurg and Yo had planned it, allowing Yo's father's guardian ghost to impersonate Jean to distract Luchist. Luchist, seeing Jean, remembered the girl he had personally retrieved to defeat Doji, a once stubborn ordinary person who had become a stumbling block for Doji. However, Luchist soon realized this Jean was a fake, as guardian ghosts have no shadows. Thus, Luchist attacked Lysurg directly, but Lysurg transformed into a guardian ghost. At that moment, Lysurg's archangel pierced the black angel Lucifer. Yo explained that he had anticipated Luchist's foresight, knowing the fake Jean wouldn't fool Luchist, so it was merely a bait to lure him. At that time, the real Lysurg brought the real Jean and used Shamash to save Yo, completing the plan brilliantly. As Lysurg's archangel sliced Lucifer in half, Luchist realized he had completely lost. He had assumed Shamash was also fake when he saw the fake Jean, and now regretted underestimating his opponent. After all, Yo, being Doji's brother, couldn't be weak. As Lucifer vanished, Luchist also passed out. Meanwhile, Jean stood silently by the sea, her identity now revealed, her thoughts unknown. Yo and Lysurg decided not to disturb her as they were drawn to two cars that turned out to be transformations of Marco and Luchist's archangels. Marco explained that his company originally sold sports cars, and he had once dreamed of developing his own luxury model until Doji destroyed that dream. Thus, Marco's fight against evil was merely a facade for seeking revenge on Doji. With X-Laws stripped of its sanctity and Jean's identity exposed, Marco felt they had reached the end. He held a gun to his head, intending to end his life, no longer caring about Yo's participation in the shaman tournament. Just as Marco was about to pull the trigger, Jean suddenly embraced him. She didn't believe Marco was at fault, claiming her birthplace was where Michael descended, and in her heart, Marco was Michael. Regardless of X-Law's future, the world needed justice. She hoped to live on with Marco, continuing to uphold the principles set by X-Laws. Marco was thus persuaded. Jean thanked Yo, acknowledging his role in saving X-Laws this time, but warned that they would not hold back in the shaman tournament. During dinner, Anna wondered why Yo always brought enemies home for a meal after a fight. Under Ren's urging, Yo suggested it was time to discuss serious matters. He explained that in the upcoming shaman tournament, Doji was likely to win. Once victorious, Doji would merge with the Great Spirit. However, during the merging process, Doji would experience a state similar to death. Yo planned to use this opportunity to eliminate Doji. Luchist agreed that Yo's plan was good, but noted that to kill Doji, who would be the Shaman King, Yo first needed to defeat the 10 priests and Doji's many followers. Clearly, this path would not be easy. For now, they had to focus on the shaman tournament. The next day, the competition began. Ren's team faced Gandhara's Mayu team in the second round. Observing the strong energy of his opponents, Ren decided to test their strength himself. Ren entered the arena and launched his special move, but it did not effectively harm the Mew team. Then, Ren activated his Oversoul and attacked Miyu's Yanage, but it seemed there was a barrier around Yanage. Half of Ren's sword simply vanished. Following this, Yanage released his guardian ghost, Gundali, which struck and sent Ren flying. Ren quickly summoned Basin to catch him. Yanage told Ren that no matter what technique he used, it would be useless against him. However, Ren refused to believe this. He saw the Miyu team as merely another obstacle on his path to becoming the Shaman King. Ren continued to try different attacks, but they all disappeared as they neared Yanage. Losing patience, Yanage commanded Gundali to launch a fierce attack, blasting Ren against a pillar. Yanage pressed the attack, but Ren had already moved behind them. After dodging the lethal attack, Ren didn't pause and kept attacking Yanage with full force. To others, it seemed like his efforts were futile, as all attacks were neutralized. Yet, Ren knew with each strike, he was getting closer to the truth. He felt that the secret to defeating Yanage was nearly within reach. Gundali's fist smashed hard into Ren, but surprisingly, Ren took the blow intentionally. Yanage realized Ren did this so his teammates could understand his moves. However, turning all energy into nothing was a power unique to Gandhara, and even if Ren's team understood it, they couldn't counter it. The people of Gandhara disliked fighting. They only joined the shaman tournament to help Sati save the world. Yanage then asked Ren why he fought and if such battles could bring happiness. Ren found this boring. He was fighting to defeat that guy, referring to Yo. Intrigued, Yanage launched an attack, but Ren's blade unexpectedly pierced through Gundali's palm and struck Yanage's face. Yanage couldn't believe how Ren had managed to break Gundali. Following this, Ren released lightning that shattered Gundali's shoulder. Ren explained to Yanage that he used to be solely focused on defeating his enemies. After repeated failures, he discovered the true way to win: to suppress his desire to defeat the enemy, overcome himself, and give everything to his opponent. Saying this, Ren struck Gundali with another bolt of lightning, petrifying Gundali's head. Ren told Yanage that this power was not destructive but giving, and through this, he had achieved his new Oversoul. A few days ago, Ren's team held a discussion meeting where Ren summarized the current issues of the team. Chocolove, who had died once, was the strongest, while Hirokyu was the weakest. Therefore, to defeat their enemies, they needed to train hard. During the meeting, Chocolove introduced his new guardian ghost, Abaj. After observing the team, Abaj noted that Hirokyu and Kororo had a conflicting relationship like fire and ice, and Ren and Basin had a master-servant relationship. These relationships did not foster mutual growth between the shaman and their guardian ghosts. Thus, they needed to reconsider their relationships with their guardian ghosts. After a night of reflection, Ren achieved a new understanding and developed a new Oversoul. Meanwhile, Yanage could not accept his defeat and wanted to continue fighting, but his teammates stopped him, seeing his actions as tarnishing Sati's reputation. Jackson stepped onto the ring and knocked Yanage out of the arena. Ren's impressive performance made Yo feel threatened. Given Ren's rapid improvement, Hirokyu and Chocolove could no longer be underestimated, prompting Yo's team to intensify their training. However, Ryunosuke, Yo, and Faust slipped away, much to the dismay of Anna, who had arranged a rigorous training regimen. Jackson was preparing to fight Ren, but Ren said he was too exhausted and needed to switch out. However, Jackson's guardian ghost sneakily attacked Ren from behind. Chocolove rushed to avenge Ren but was blocked by Jackson's guardian ghost. When Chocolove summoned Abaj to continue the attack, Abaj knocked him back. Abaj reassured everyone that Ren was still alive, explaining that Gandhara primarily used psychic attacks. Jackson hinted that although Ren wasn't dead, he might not wake up. Abaj calmed the agitated Chocolove, advising him to stay calm no matter what. Finally calming down, Chocolove entered the fight, leaving the match to him and Hirokyu. Chocolove activated his Oversoul and charged at Jackson. Suddenly, Jackson's Fudo and Kato's Aizen lunged at Chocolove. Despite Chocolove's speed, these two guardian ghosts specialized in precisely locating and trapping the opponent's soul, rendering Chocolove unable to fight. Kato performed a strange dance, signaling his guardian ghost to attack. Aizen continuously shot arrows at Hirokyu, who froze them with ice. Now, Hirokyu was the team's last hope. He constantly reminded himself to stay calm, but facing two powerful opponents, he questioned if he could maintain his composure. Recalling the special training Abaj had given him, Abaj had told him that his fiery spirit was just a facade, and that he also had a cold-hearted side. Hirokyu realized he needed to embrace this ruthlessness to confront his enemies on the battlefield. Outside the arena, Opacho was chatting with Parika, who was too nervous to watch her brother's match. However, Opacho reassured her that Hirokyu was actually very strong, admitting even she was a bit afraid of him because she could see a wolf hidden in his heart. Now, under the pressure of battle, the wolf inside Hirokyu had fully awakened. Just as Jackson thought he had secured the victory, Hirokyu suddenly froze half of Fudo's body into fragments. Although Fudo's hand regenerated quickly, Hirokyu had already dodged his next attack and crushed Fudo's weapon. Hirokyu then grabbed a rope thrown by Fudo and struck a critical blow. Meanwhile, an anxious Kato danced, directing his Aizen to shoot arrows incessantly, but Hirokyu punched Aizen in the chest, instantly freezing and shattering him. Against two opponents, Hirokyu won the match. Meanwhile, Yo and his team members were casually chatting on the road. They admitted they didn't know much about Hirokyu, occasionally wondering why he was so devoted to nature. Hirokyu never spoke about his past, but Doji knew about it. It was said that Horokyu's ancestors were descendants of a goddess and a wolf. However, Doji sensed that Gandhara was beginning to use Hirokyu, possibly planning to train him as one of the 5 warriors. Doji would not let their plans succeed. He instructed the Moon team to proceed as planned, while the Flower team prepared for the next round of the Shaman tournament. He finally asked Lucius to bring Opacho back, as he was about to stir up trouble. At this moment, Ren and Chocolove, who had appeared unconscious on the stage, stood up. Hirokyu realized they had been acting to force him to reveal his true nature. As they walked out of the arena, Hana asked Hirokyu to inquire about Gandhara and the 5 warriors from Chocolove, but Chocolove, with his head down, clearly did not want to talk. On one side, Marco and Lysurg were driving Tamao and Manta back home. Jean asked Lysurg if Doji had killed his parents, to which Lysurg explained that he initially joined the X-Laws for revenge, but now he was more focused on stopping Doji from committing further evil. Lysurg admitted he wasn't sure if what he was doing represented true justice. Manta pointed out that Lysurg's thoughts were similar to Yo's. Whatever people do, they can't please everyone, so one shouldn't solely define justice and evil. Actions should be guided by the heart. Hearing this, Lysurg felt much relieved. Meanwhile, Yo was training with Ryunosuke and Faust on a new type of Oversoul. Yo accidentally injured Ryunosuke, but fortunately, Faust's new Oversoul had improved healing effects and quickly revived Ryunosuke. Suddenly, a woman nearby joined the conversation, expressing her anticipation for the final battle. Ryunosuke, seeing a beautiful woman, couldn't control himself, but a group of men in black surrounded her. When the woman turned around, Ryunosuke recognized her as Sati. Sati declared her intention to have a final battle with Yo right there, stating that for the sake of the 5 warriors, Yo must die. Yo, confused by the situation, realized there was no time for explanations. Thus, he had no choice but to accept Sati's challenge. Elsewhere, X-Laws members infiltrated Doji's base in an attempt to assassinate him. Porf aimed his sniper rifle at Doji's head, ready to pull the trigger, when he saw Doji alone, shedding tears. Surprisingly, this millennium-old man was missing his mother. Porf was so startled by Doji's tears that he forgot to shoot, and soon, he lost his chance altogether, as he was consumed by a burst of crimson flames. With his dying breath, He urged his comrades to retreat quickly, but the other two were too slow to escape. One died under Doji's flames, while the last surviving member, John, used his final tactic, activating a satellite weapon. A laser beam from space targeted Doji's base, intending to incinerate him. After the dust settled, John wondered why he was still alive. It turned out that Doji had saved him. Enraged that his secrets were being probed, Doji decided to incinerate John's soul. The intense energy even affected Marco and others nearby. Suddenly, a black object impaled Marco. The attacker was Anatel's brother, Anahal, seeking to avenge his brother's death by killing Jana. A giant Egyptian statue swung its fist at their car. Lysurg summoned an archangel to help them dodge, pleading with Jean to unleash Shamash to aid in the fight. However, Jean hesitated because Anatel had indeed died by her hand, and she felt it was justified for his brother to seek revenge. Soon, Lysurg's archangel was shattered by the Egyptian statue's laser. Elsewhere, Yo and his group felt the disturbances from the battle. As Yo was distracted, Sati's attack instantly pierced through his body. Yo seemed to fall without experiencing any pain. Ryunosuke angrily confronted Sati, asking why she had to kill. Sati explained that only the 5 warriors could defeat Doji, and Yo, as one of them, needed to gain the power to control the 5 great spirits. After being killed by Sati, Yo's soul arrived at the gates of hell. He remembered Chokolov mentioning that hell was actually a part of the Great Spirit, and he believed Sati would not kill without reason. At that moment, a big ghost quietly opened the gates of hell and told Yo that Sati killed him to aid his training. Yo recognized this big ghost as one previously summoned by Anna. Yo wondered if Matamune might be nearby, but quickly realized Matamune was gone. However, from a dark corner, a familiar large smoking pipe appeared. Yo followed the big ghost into the gates of hell. The big ghost explained that powerful shamans like Sati must train here at least once, but warned that souls could be destroyed if not strong enough. The big ghost himself had nearly died here, only surviving thanks to Sati, who rescued him and left him to assist others sent here for training. He urged Yo to strive to survive and return alive, as he did not want Anna to become a widow. Big Ghost escorted Yo to the first level of hell and then left, advising Yo to make sure his mother was happy. There, Yo encountered a gatekeeper wearing a mask similar to his father's. Amidamaru was startled, but Yo clarified that it wasn't his father's spirit. As expected, when Yo shattered the mask, a stranger's face was revealed. The man introduced himself as Asakura Yoken, the hero who defeated Doji in the last shaman tournament, and then summoned his guardian ghost, Matamune. Yo was momentarily stunned, realizing this person was an ancestor from 500 years ago in the Asakura family. Yo narrowly avoided Yoken's attack. He wanted to use his oversoul, but found it impossible in his soul state. Meanwhile, Yoken was already close enough to strike. He expressed his determination to defeat Yo and return to the real world. Yo's arms were slashed by the blade, turning to bone, which caused intense pain. This sudden pain helped Yo understand that in this place, anything could be accomplished with the mind. Yoken's oversoul was likely also created by thought. Indeed, Yo used his mind to regenerate his arms and even created an ancient sword. Using this realization, Yo deployed a new type of oversoul. He also understood that Yoken was trapped in hell, haunted by regret for killing his ancestor Doji 500 years ago, and still unable to escape Doji's curse. Yo then resolved to free Yoken from this torment. Yoken realized that the young boy in front of him should not be underestimated. He quickly summoned a Shikigami to entangle Yo, taking the opportunity to launch a sneak attack. However, Yo did not let him succeed. Yo thought Yoken had run out of tricks, but he was mistaken. The real battle was just beginning. Yoken released his Shikigami again. Using his ultimate technique that had defeated Doji, Yo decided to face this move head-on. He reasoned that if he couldn't withstand this level of attack, how could he ever defeat Doji? At this moment, Matamune finally appeared. Surprised that Yoken had resorted to this technique so quickly, he remarked on Yo's rapid growth. Then, a train stopped in front of Matamune, who boarded confidently, knowing he could no longer accompany Yoken, but believing Yoken would find redemption. Meanwhile, Yoken was somewhat incredulous, unable to believe that his strongest attack had been blocked by Yo. Yo explained that changing the size of the oversoul during battle was very difficult. Therefore, he devised a way to extend the oversoul without altering its form. Yoken's fighting spirit was ignited by Yo. He directed his Shikigami to attack Yo, but Yo shattered the Shikigami's blade with a powerful counterstrike, exciting Yoken even more. Thus, he decided to use the deadly move that had once claimed Doji's life. Yo, in response, gathered all his energy in preparation. He knew his purpose here was to train and strengthen himself. If he couldn't defeat Yoken here, his death would have been in vain. Yoken's speed in forming seals increased, and tiny blades rained down on Yo like droplets. To Yoken's surprise, these blades did no harm to Yo. However, with just one decisive strike, Yo pierced through the Shikigami. Yoken, astonished, began to suspect that Yo might be the heir of the Asakura family. Meanwhile, Ryunosuke and Faust were listening to Sati explain. Sati stated that the 5 warriors and the 5 spirits were the only way to defeat Doji. Ryunosuke, confused, asked about Doji's fire spirit, which was also one of the 5 great spirits. Sati explained that when Doji becomes the shaman king, he would briefly fall into a slumber, during which the fire spirit would be without a master. At that time, the fire spirit could be combined with the other 4 spirits and controlled by the 5 warriors. This, she revealed, was Gandhara's mission in this shaman tournament. Following this, Sati called out to the eavesdropping priest, Namari. Hearing his own name, Namari realized there was no need to eavesdrop any longer. He approached Sati and warned that the 5 great spirits belonged to the Patch tribe. Advising Gandhara to tread carefully, he suggested she focus on winning the next match, especially since the X-Laws had just been completely defeated. Ryunosuke suddenly stopped him, asking Namari to clarify what he meant by the X-Laws being completely wiped out. At that moment, Doji's moon team appeared. Zhang Qing informed Ryunosuke that just recently, John, Lysurg, Marco, and others had been turned to ash. He explained that the beam of light they had seen was proof of their deaths and threatened to do the same to Yo's body. Ryunosuke was furious and tried to attack Zhang Qing, but Sati stopped him. She had just warned Ryunosuke never to take a life, but the next second, Zhang Qing stabbed Sati with a knife. In hell, the battle between Yo and Yoken had temporarily come to a halt. Yoken acknowledged Yo's strength and expressed gratitude that he had left a child behind before heading to the battlefield, allowing him now to converse with his descendant. Yoken casually asked if Yo also had children, which embarrassed Yo immensely. Meanwhile, Yoken learned from Yo about Doji's resurrection. He remarked that defeating Doji physically wouldn't end him, as he would keep reincarnating. To truly eliminate Doji, one would need to destroy his soul. However, Yo wanted to save Doji. Yoken sighed, noting that the Asakura family had always aimed to permanently eradicate Doji, whereas Yo's approach was radically different. He mused that Yo might indeed succeed in changing Doji, though saving him would be much harder than destroying him. Just then, a massive hammer shattered Yoken's soul. An ultra ghost appeared. Yo, unable to accept Yoken's disappearance, immediately cut off the ultra ghost's hand and demanded to know how to restore Yoken's soul. The ultra ghost replied that a vanished soul couldn't be restored, prompting Yo to destroy it. Before he could mourn, an arrow pierced his body. Countless ultra ghosts emerged from all around. Yo, in pain, pulled the arrow from his chest. He had realized the truth. Here, as long as the soul persists, one does not die. As long as the spirit remains unyielding, one cannot lose. Therefore, he resolved to defeat all the ultra ghosts. At the hot spring inn, members of Ren's team were soaking in the hot springs when suddenly 3 members of Mayu's squad entered. They shared Sati's goal: to kill Ren and his team to send them to hell for training. Thus, a naked Ren, Chocolove, and Hirokyu were sent to hell. Meanwhile, Lysurg was lost in hell when an ultra ghost suddenly attacked him. Lysurg instinctively tried to summon his guardian ghost, but there was no response, and he could only take the hits passively. On the other side, Chocolove, having died once already, was not panicked. Abaj told him that the fastest way for the 5 warriors to level up was in hell. They must escape hell on their own strength to return to the human world. Abaj then transformed into a human form and instructed Chocolove to reach the deepest level of hell and climb back to the human world to complete his training. Abaj mentioned he needed to help the other warriors overcome their challenges and expressed his hope that Chocolove would protect himself and make it back alive. Elsewhere, Tamao was crying. covering her face. She had wrapped everyone in her guardian ghost during the car explosion, but still failed to save Jean and 2 others. At that moment, Anahal revealed that he was a follower of Doji and intended to dispose of their bodies. However, Tamao insisted on protecting them, suggesting that Sati might have the power to revive them. Anahal summoned his oversoul, Sphinx, and declared that if Tamao wished to die, he would oblige her. Just then, an attack shattered the head of Sphinx. Marco, who had not died, appeared. It turned out that Jean had used Shamash to revive him during the explosion. Anahal summoned Sphinx again to deal with Marco, but Marco's Archangel combo cut Sphinx into pieces. Marco then held a gun to Anahal's head and demanded he take them to find Sati. At that moment, Doji appeared and told Marco that Sati was also dead and the other fallen warriors would not be resurrected. While Marco was stunned, Anahal knocked him to the ground. Doji, looking at the unwilling Marco, mentioned there was still a way to revive them using the shaman book, which Faust had mastered. However, it was uncertain if Faust was still alive. Hearing this, Marco transformed the Archangel into a car and loaded the bodies of Jean and Lysurg into it. Realizing there was still hope for resurrection, Marco refused to give up. But Doji warned that the X-Laws had nowhere to run as satellite weapons had attracted the attention of the United Nations, and government investigators would soon arrive on the island. However, Doji declared he would not let these investigators disrupt the shaman tournament and planned to eliminate them all. Just then, Anna arrived with the Munzer siblings, driving a golem. She instructed the golem to take Tamao and the others away while she stayed behind to confront Doji. Doji quickly used his power to neutralize energy, not daring to underestimate Anna. However, he didn't intend to eliminate her completely, as he genuinely liked the girl. Meanwhile, in hell, the others were unaware of the situation outside. Ren was fighting endlessly with lost souls, Hirokyu was being outmaneuvered by Matamune, and Lysurg faced Mastima, a servant of Satan. Only Yo was effortlessly defeating nearby ultra ghosts, who even begged him for mercy. Yo instructed a ghost to take him to stronger opponents, as he was not yet satisfied, leaving the battered ghost dumbfounded. Back on the surface, the showdown between Doji and Anna had concluded, with Doji emerging victorious. Although Anna could perfectly wield Zenki and Goki, it was still not enough. Doji knew that Anna must have more abilities than she had shown, and speculated that she stayed behind alone to reveal powers that others should not see. The next second, a powerful surge of shamanic energy erupted from Anna. Meanwhile, a furious Ryunosuke sought revenge for Sati, but someone slapped him from behind. It turned out to be Yo, who had been revived by Faust. Yo asked Namari why he didn't stop everything that happened, but Namari explained that the duty of the 10 priests was only to protect the shaman king and nothing else. Yo then asked Faust how many more times he could use the resurrection technique. Faust replied he could only use it one more time. Yo decided to use the last resurrection to bring back Sati. Doji's subordinates naturally attempted to intervene but were effortlessly defeated by Yo, leaving Namari shocked at how much stronger Yo had become after dying once. Yo had Faust revive Sati, who then immediately resurrected Jian, thus bringing back all the deceased. Doji's subordinates did not interfere as Doji had ordered them to cease their actions through the Oracle Bell. But Yo had no time to worry about Doji's concerns as Tamao and the others had found him. He immediately boarded the golem to return and assist Anna. At the Hot Spring Inn, the flower team was originally tasked with handling the bodies of Ren's team. However, upon their arrival, they were surprised to find Ren, Horikyu, and Chokolov all alive. The flower team was astonished when Jun, accompanied by Piran, emerged. She had stayed close to Sati and had learned the resurrection technique. Just as the flower team was about to battle Ren's team, Bracken flew in from a distance and urgently told the flower team to head to the west coast for a new mission assigned by Doji. The flower team quickly evacuated. Lysurg, still not resurrected, continued to wander in hell. He realized that no matter how well he hid, thinking of his parents would always attract Mastema. Suddenly, it dawned on him that his hatred towards Doji, triggered by thoughts of his parents, was what drew Mastema to him. Lysurg understood that to defeat the demon, he first had to conquer himself. Instantly, his injured arm healed, and a pair of pristine white wings sprouted from his back. He wielded his sword against the demon, knowing that in this world, a strong spirit could defeat enemies. However, Mastema was not vanquished, but instead knocked Lysurg to the ground. Abaj explained that the demon was actually a manifestation of the hatred in Lysurg's heart. As long as Lysurg held on to his hatred, the demon would persist. Abaj stated that only those who could grasp happiness had truly strong hearts. He then presented Lysurg with gifts, Morphin and the Archangel, hoping Lysurg would use them to create a new Oversoul. Meanwhile, Doji recalled all his subordinates, because various countries had indeed sent investigation teams. He ordered his subordinates to kill these investigators, but they hesitated, finding no meaning in killing ordinary people, and realizing it meant making enemies with the world. Peyote even questioned Doji's decision as being too hasty. Doji, who has the ability to read minds, already knew their thoughts and had intentionally assigned them dangerous tasks, considering them expendable. This attitude upset Peyote, who then attacked his former colleagues. With the help of a mysterious man armed with a machine gun, nearly all of Doji's subordinates were killed, including Peyote. The mysterious man then called his superior to report, revealing he was sent ahead to the island by Manta's father to clear obstacles. Although the members of the flower team were dead, their spirits were still desperately running. Their obsession was to find Doji and inform him of Peyote's betrayal. However, when the three spirits reached Doji, they found him bloodied from a beating by Hana, his power exhausted and attempting to consume the souls of the flower team members. Hana, despising Doji's ruthless nature, told the members of the flower team to move on to the afterlife. Noting Doji's lack of trust and regard for anyone, Doji then leapt into the air. Since Hana wouldn't let him consume the flower team, he decided to consume a Shikigami, instead to replenish his energy. Soon, everyone understood why Doji needed such powerful energy, as he summoned the most powerful Oversoul in history. Mighty flames surged from the ground, and the Oversoul Black Fowl appeared amidst a sea of fire, with Doji planning to use it to capture the entire Great Spirit. Under this terrifying power, the flower team knelt in fear, realizing how insignificant they were in the face of someone like Doji. At that moment, Doji demanded Hana reveal her true self, but Yo suddenly arrived, stating that Hana had no disguise because she is simply Hana, the girl he has vowed to protect for life. With Sati's assistance, Jean finally opened her eyes again, finding the sensation of being alive truly delightful. However, the situation was urgent, and there was no time for her to dwell on her feelings, as many others were still waiting to be resurrected. Instead of the anticipated battle, Doji and Yo were unexpectedly calm, sitting in a cafe, drinking coffee, and chatting. Meanwhile, Hana had returned to the inn with Manta, the Muncer siblings, and even the flower team. Red Seb was puzzled as to why they hadn't eliminated Doji earlier. Hana explained that even if everyone attacked together, they could not defeat him. No one's Oversoul was capable of overcoming Doji's Oversoul. Therefore, the best they could do now was to prepare for battle and maintain a facade of peace with Doji. In the cafe, the brothers continued their conversation. It was rare for the twin brothers to have an opportunity for a heartfelt talk. Although Doji could read minds, Yo was not afraid of his thoughts being known. After all, Doji wasn't planning to kill him at the moment. In fact, Doji intended to wait until Yo grew stronger, before consuming him to become the strongest shaman. Sometimes Doji disliked his mind-reading ability. Although it allowed him to know everything, he still couldn't prevent unpleasant events, like the betrayal by his subordinates. Although he had anticipated it, the feeling of being abandoned was not pleasant. Fortunately, he still had two loyal subordinates, Opacho, who revered and was loyal to Doji, and Luchist, who was inwardly strong and knew what he wanted, hence would not betray him. As for others, they were merely passers-by in Doji's life, and he would not mourn for them. Before leaving, Doji decided to generously pay for his brother's bill. However, when he went to settle the account, he emitted such a powerful aura that it frightened the waiter into giving him a free meal. Pleased with the unintentional dine and dash, Doji happily left. At that moment, Yoken, who had been hiding on the waiter, emerged. He had just sensed that Doji had become aware of his presence. Unexpectedly, Yoken had also come to the human world and seemed to have become Yo's guardian ghost. With Sati and Jean's efforts, 4 of the 5 warriors have successfully returned from hell. Only Lysurg remains asleep, facing a necessary challenge. He must rely on his own strength to return from hell to reality, which is crucial for him to eventually defeat Doji. Late at night, Yo was alone outside, pondering, when Ren joined him. Ren questioned why Yo had tea with Doji, regardless of their brotherhood. As Doji was still an enemy to everyone, Ren advised Yo against actions that could foster personal feelings, which might lead to mercy in a life-or-death battle. However, Yo didn't see Doji as entirely formidable. He saw him as a person with weaknesses. Although Doji was almost unbeatable as a shaman, Yo felt that Doji's strength was a cover for his vulnerabilities. Yo believed he could surpass Doji in terms of inner strength. Ren's visit wasn't just a warning. He mentioned the upcoming shaman tournament, where Ren's team would face Yo's team due to the schedule. The next day at the tournament, everyone was eager to see who would win between friends Yo and Ren. Before the fight, the host prepared to interview them about their feelings. Ren grabbed the microphone first, admitting that although he and Yo had supported each other to this point, he had always wanted to defeat Yo and advance towards becoming the Shaman King. Ren's challenge excited the audience. In response, Yo stated that his team would also give their all to strive for the title of Shaman King, but they wouldn't let the competition damage their friendships. Thus, even with someone like Doji, Yo would share a coffee because he knew Doji had no friends. This statement stunned everyone, but Manta understood that Yo wasn't fighting out of hatred. He was fighting to save Doji. Ren's team grew tired of the host's rambling. Hirokyu charged at Yo but was blocked by Ryunosuke. However, Hirokyu used his powers to shatter Ryunosuke's arms into pieces. Faust attempted to come to the rescue, but was pierced by Ren's lightning. In an instant, Yo was the only one left on his team. Unruffled and undismayed, Yo calmly activated his Oversoul and used a move he learned in Hell that could nullify all spiritual power. Despite Yo's powerful Hell-learned technique, Ren wasn't outdone. His Oversoul, having been tempered in Hell, was immensely strong. Ren attacked Yo with lightning. Yo's technique was effective only against spiritual power, but Ren's power was that of nature. Similarly, Hirokyu's technique involved condensing water in the air into ice, another natural force, making Yo's move ineffective against both of them. Under the relentless assault from Ren and Hirokyu, Yo appeared to have no chance to counterattack. Ren unleashed his Oversoul's ultimate technique to end the battle, striking Yo with a powerful lightning bolt. Yo collapsed, charred. Yet, astonishingly, he got up again, and both Faust and Ryunosuke were also revived in spirit. Yo claimed that Ren's hesitation and lack of resolve to kill meant he could not defeat Yo, who sensed Ren's inner conflict. However, Ren believed the truth wasn't as simple as Yo described. The power he had used was enough to kill Yo, suggesting that Yo might also have mastered a form of natural power. Hirokyu, however, was not afraid of other natural forces. On the other side, the Asakura family and the Tao family were discussing their strategy for the final battle. Grandfather Asakura found Brocken by the seaside. 16 years ago, he had found Doji as a baby and raised him. Therefore, if they could get Brocken to talk, they might find some clues. While the elders were figuring out how to deal with Brocken, Ren and Hirokyu had already been battling Yo for several rounds. Ryunosuke and Faust were injured again and lying on the ground, but Yo was still holding on, even though one of his arms had been frozen into pieces. Ren remembered Yo's words that one cannot win if their heart is in turmoil. Indeed, it was a battle of hearts. Now, Ren decided to calm his heart and strike Yo with a resolute and clear-minded blow. However, when the smoke cleared, Lysurg had blocked all their attacks, accompanied by Jin and Sati. Sati informed everyone that all 5 warriors had been resurrected. There was no need to waste time on this meaningless competition. Gandhara and Kabbalahers would withdraw from the contest, leaving only the Star Team, Yo's team, Ren's team, and X-Laws. Yo felt indifferent about advancing in the tournament, but was happy about Lysurg's resurrection. Ren was shocked that Lysurg could block their full-powered strike, but Lysurg humbly stated that they were injured, which made it easier for him to block their combined attack. Lysurg had also developed his skills in Hell and showed everyone his armored Oversoul. As everyone was stunned, Abaj suddenly appeared on the field, indicating that the Patch Tribe had identified the top 4 teams, and the current match indeed needed to conclude. The Great Elder had no choice but to announce a temporary end to the fight. At night, Ren, Yo, and others enjoyed a rare moment of peace in a hot spring. Everyone happily relaxed after the battle. Ren wondered if Lysurg's acquisition of the same fire element as Doji in Hell was a deliberate provocation. Before Yo could respond, Doji suddenly appeared. Lysurg launched an attack at Doji, but it was perfectly blocked. Doji then taunted them, saying their Oversouls were not as advanced as his. However, Abaj pointed out that although their Oversouls were not as powerful as Doji's, everyone was striving to defeat him. He declared that the 5 warriors would eventually use the 5 great spirits to defeat Doji. Lysurg had chosen the fire element to master the hostility in his heart. Although they couldn't defeat Doji now, Lysurg believed that Doji's arrogance wouldn't last much longer. Following this, Doji joined everyone peacefully in the hot spring. During the bath, Doji revealed that human armies were gathering on the west coast, but also mentioned a place called Mu Continent. It was said to have existed in the Pacific Ocean 12,000 years ago, possessing an advanced civilization before being submerged by the gods for offending them. The tradition of deciding the shaman king on Mu Continent was a long-standing one, and Doji expressed a desire to experience this tradition and locate the submerged land, sparking everyone's curiosity about the mysterious underwater continent. However, Doji emphasized that the immediate priority was to deal with the human armies on the west coast. This was because the X-Laws had previously attacked the island with satellite weapons, prompting the outside world to send troops to investigate the island. The leader of these troops was Manta's father, complicating the situation. Meanwhile, Marco, who had been healed, discovered that his savior was one of Doji's subordinates. Luchist had Marco drive them to deliver fresh clothes to Doji. On the way, Marco heard about the approaching army but doubted that Doji would struggle with these military forces. Luchist mentioned that someone in the army was a former X-Laws weapon store guard who had been dismissed. If this person had taken something from the weapon store, it could spell trouble. Now, to counter the military forces, Doji planned to temporarily make peace with Yo. Since learning that his father was leading an attack on the island, Manta has been utterly dejected, believing he inadvertently leaked secrets that led to the disaster. Yo was curious about the kind of family Manta came from, but Manta did not want to discuss it. Yo comforted him, saying they would accompany him to meet his father and that a good conversation might prevent a war. However, Anna stated that communication alone would not stop the war, especially not with someone like Manta's father. Anna removed a listening device from Manta's phone, revealing the true source of the leak. Thus, the war was inevitable. Anna advised Yo to view this war as a form of training, suggesting that overcoming this challenge might prepare him to face Doji. However, Yo struggled with the idea of fighting ordinary people, especially since one of them was Manta's father. Anna explained that for a shaman, facing ordinary people is the ultimate test. Their minds can be more malicious and their methods more cruel than those of shamans. In some ways, ordinary people can be more difficult to deal with than Doji. Anna's words drew Doji and others into the conversation, indicating that a confrontation with these ordinary people was indeed imminent. Doji led Yo and others to the west side of the island where the human army was assembled. Wearing his armored oversoul, Doji launched an attack from the air. The army's missiles couldn't even touch his clothing. Yo and the others watched in awe from below, amazed at the strength of the armored oversoul, which seemed impervious even to heavy weapons. Thus, Doji didn't need their help, and the spectators realized the gap between themselves and Doji. Doji wouldn't hesitate to kill. By then, Doji had located Manta's father, but hesitated to act because he sensed a minor danger. This threat was from Reinhardt, a former member of the X-Laws, who had his gun aimed at Doji. Reinhardt then fired an Archangel with 470,000 units of power. The Archangel's cannon was aimed at Doji, and Reinhardt was confident in his weapon's power. However, he underestimated his opponent. Doji's oversoul emitted countless flames, wrapping the Archangel in a fireball. Yo watched stunned as the Archangel turned to ashes, recognizing the ghostly fire Doji had mentioned the night before. Even Yo's best moves could not withstand such power. After the smoke cleared, the Archangel was completely incinerated, and Reinhardt was dead. Beside him, a woman unwilling to give up had collected Doji's hair from the hot spring the day before, intending to use all her life force to curse Doji. But she died the next second from the backlash of the massive energy. Doji, now bored with the human army, left, knowing Yo and the others could clean up the aftermath. He coolly exited, leaving the cleanup task to Yo and the rest. Yo marveled at the power of someone who had spent 900 years in hell, realizing that their brief moment there paled in comparison. However, Yo wasn't afraid of Doji. If Doji's power stemmed from profound despair, what was there to envy? They would eventually find a way to deal with Doji. Meanwhile, Anna observed everything, sensing that Doji also had his own weaknesses. She asked Doji why he hadn't destroyed the ship carrying Manta's father from the start, feeling that Doji hesitated because of Manta. This seemed like a vulnerability. Doji simply smiled and suggested that might be the case. After dealing with the human army, Yo and the others followed Doji in a submarine to the ocean floor, soon standing on the mystical Mu continent. The Patch Tribe priests also arrived to preside over the second round of the shaman tournament. Unexpectedly, before the competition began, Yo, representing his team, Ren's team, and all members of the X-Laws, announced their withdrawal from the tournament. The priests were surprised and questioned if he could speak for everyone, but other shamans also raised no objections. They planned to accumulate power in advance, waiting for Doji to become the shaman king and fall into slumber. They believed that defeating the priests and surpassing Doji would be more feasible then. Thus, the 500-year shaman tournament ended in confusion. Doji became the new shaman king without a fight, then proceeded with the spirit maidens to the temple to merge with the Great Spirit. Lucius took on the important task of guarding the door for Doji. Marco volunteered to step forward, intending to initiate the first battle to defeat Doji. At this moment, Lysurg wanted to step forward to help Marco, but Yo stopped him. Marco wanted to face his past squarely, so Yo suggested letting the two eccentrics finish their battle. Before the final fight began, Lucius asked Marco if he believed he was fighting for justice. He explained that true justice doesn't exist in the world, only the true face of evil. Lucius once believed in a single justice when X-Laws were newly formed, confident in defeating Doji, but was effortlessly beaten by him. Doji spared Lucius' life, leading him to join Doji and meet various people who had been ostracized by one-sided justice, each holding their own sense of justice. Thus, Lucius concluded that there is no absolute justice or evil in the world, as history is a deception written by the victors, who alone define justice or evil for future generations. As they spoke, the two engaged in a fierce fight, fighting recklessly. The battle soon paused with both appearing unharmed, but their energies nearly depleted. Marco seemed worse off, barely able to speak. Lucius was about to kill Marco when Lysurg, panicking, was about to shoot to save him, but the situation changed instantly. It turned out Marco had learned Yo's trick of disguise. The speechless Marco was a decoy created with glasses as a medium, while the real Marco had moved behind Lucius. Marco told Lucius that the old him, who clung to absolute justice, wouldn't have used such a cunning move. However, Jeanne had taught him what true love is, and Lucius' mother-like care was also true love. When Marco was first taken in by Lucius after losing both parents, he fell into despair. It was Lucius' Italian pasta, carrying a taste of motherly love, that rekindled Marco's will to live. Wanting to taste that familiar flavor every day helped him survive. People need to be loved first before they can love others. So true justice is love, and any act that deviates from love is absolute evil. Lucius was glad that Marco found his own justice, and they agreed to duel again in hell. They pulled the triggers together, ultimately dying in a mutual demise. Although Yo was deeply saddened by their loss, it seemed a fitting end for these two who loved and battled each other. Now that Lucius, who had been holding them back, was dead, Yo led everyone into the corridor leading to the temple. They soon encountered Silva, their first obstacle. Silva had taken on the responsibility of the Patch Tribe's 10 priests after leaving prison. Hirokyu charged at Silva first, but Silva's silver shield reflected all damage. Lysurg followed with an attack only to be tightly bound by Silva's silver rod. As Hirokyu and Lysurg were defeated, Silva began to taunt Ren and Ryunosuke. Ren calmly stated that they couldn't win and that they couldn't afford to die without extra energy for resurrection, suggesting Yo take over the fight. The next second, Yo charged and struck Silva's silver shield with his blade, but Silva appeared behind Yo the next moment and slammed him to the ground. Yo countered with his signature move, slicing Silva's oversoul in half. However, in the next second, the oversoul reappeared intact on Silva. This was a clash of masters, where every move was a matter of life and death. Ryunosuke realized his own inadequacy, and Ren told him that from now on, no one would be resurrected. If they couldn't handle a priest of the Patch Tribe, they didn't deserve a shot at the Shaman King. Because Silva couldn't defeat Yo for the moment, his silver rod suddenly attacked Opacho. Yo quickly stepped in front of Opacho to protect him, feeling something was off with Silva. At that moment, 2 other priests appeared. They reminded Silva to return to his own jurisdiction, as this area was merely the corridor leading to the temple. The deserts, lakes, and 10 other strongholds along the way were the domains protected by the priests. They should wait there for Yo and the others to come for the challenge. After the priests vanished, everyone was inexperienced with this kind of situation. Yo asked Abaj how long it typically takes to become the shaman king and how long the sleep lasts. Abaj estimated that Doji would sleep for 10 hours, and an additional 5 hours would be needed to perform the ritual to summon the Great Spirit. Moreover, Doji had to pass through 10 scenes, so there was a total of 15 hours. Within these 15 hours, they must defeat the priests guarding the 10 scenes. The final battle in the temple would require the 5 great spirits. The fire spirit was with Doji, while Gandhara planned to deliver the remaining 4 spirits. With their goals clear, the group moved towards the first scene ahead. In a vast desert, Namari, one of the 10 priests, guards the scene. At his command, a giant python hidden in the sand lunged out. Ren had already sensed something unusual beneath the sand and tried to summon lightning, but no lightning appeared, as expected in a dry desert. Similarly, Horokyu found himself helpless, as there was no sufficient water in the desert for his use. At this time, Ryunosuke stepped in front of Ren and Horokyu. He knew he was the weakest, but felt he was more useful than Ren and Horokyu at this stage. Ryunosuke then deployed his armored oversoul, demonstrating his efforts in training and progress. Facing Namari's boastful snake, Ryunosuke slashed it into pieces with his sword. However, Namari easily summoned another one. Realizing he couldn't waste energy on the snakes, Ryunosuke charged directly at Namari, but his adversary suddenly vanished. The next second, Namari appeared behind Ryunosuke. It turned out the previous Namari was just a mirage, but Ryunosuke had intentionally exposed a flaw to uncover Namari's secret using his own life. Now that the secret was known, Ryunosuke felt his mission was complete. He swung his sword fiercely at Namari, but as expected, the snake bit the sword, shattering it, and Ryunosuke was struck by the snake's venom. In an instant, Ryunosuke died tragically. The task of defeating Namari was left to the others. Horokyu and Ren teamed up to confront Namari, who suddenly felt panicked. He had simulated battles with all of them in his mind, but had never anticipated facing Ren and Horokyu together, confident that they wouldn't take part in this challenge. Ren then instructed Horokyu to use the little water from an oasis to freeze into ice, which Ren used as a conductor to trigger lightning. A bolt of golden lightning instantly charred Namari, opening the gate to the next scene. They had finally cleared the stage. However, standing in front of Ryunosuke's body, Ren couldn't bear it, and considered going back on his word to revive Ryunosuke. Miraculously, all the deceased on the mysterious island came back to life. Seizing the opportunity, Manta's father asked Anna if he could be untied, wanting to have a serious talk with his son. Anna agreed and freed Manta's father. Now their energy should not be wasted on these trivial matters. At that moment, Yo's father, Mikihisa, arrived with Brocken, and also the followers of Doji, who had died in internal conflicts. The plot was moving in an unexpected direction. In the passage to the second level, Ryunosuke also came back to life. He didn't understand why everyone would waste energy to revive someone as weak as him, but Yo and Ren knew that true friends don't keep score. The group arrived at the door to the second level, a valley guarded by Blanc, a priest who uses spiders as his medium. He caught them off guard by casting a huge spider web that was so tough, not even knives could cut through it. Ren decided to eliminate Blanc first, but Blanc shattered Ren's oversoul with a single move. Ultimately, it was Lysurg who prevented everyone from falling off the cliff. Lysurg had been under Blanc's supervision during the initial selection of the shaman competition, so he was very familiar with Blanc's techniques. Deciding to face Blanc alone, Yo noted that the strength of the 10 priests had significantly increased, making the fight much tougher than expected. Blanc revealed that the priest had enhanced their powers through tribal secret techniques and claimed Lysurg couldn't possibly defeat him alone. Blanc then sprayed a web at Lysurg, but before it could reach him, it was incinerated. Lysurg threatened to make Blanc feel the heat of hellfire. Just when Lysurg thought he had the upper hand, Blanc quickly shot a spider silk that pierced Lysurg's heart, a swift and shocking reversal. As Blanc prepared to finish off the bound group, Jean emerged from the Iron Maiden and summoned her oversoul guillotine, severing Blanc's hand. She then applied torture devices, surprisingly cruel tools for a sweet-looking girl. Blanc was immobilized, but he refused to give up and transformed into a spider with his oversoul, trying to break free from Jane's devices. As he leaped towards Jane to attack, Lysurg suddenly appeared in front of him. Everyone was relieved to see Lysurg alive, who then pulled out a pair of shattered glasses from his pocket bulletproof glasses left to him by Marco as a memento, which he had kept close to his chest. These glasses had saved his life. Blon bit Lysurg a few times in anger, but it was futile. Seeing his opponent helpless, Lysurg used the hellfire to burn Blon to ashes. The group successfully passed the second level. The third level is a volcano, guarded by the priest Magna. He noticed that Yo and the others had already used resurrection spells several times after only 2 levels, indicating that their energy might soon be depleted. Then Magna attacked the weaker Opacho, but Chocolov promptly rescued him. Magna mocked their foolishness for saving a teammate, then launched an attack on the Iron Maiden with his Oversoul, only to find that Jean was not inside. It turned out Jean had used up her energy to resurrect them and had stayed alone at the valley level. Determined to be strong for Jean, Ren activated his Oversoul and shattered Magna's Oversoul. However, Magna started singing, a secret technique of the Patch tribe that boosts power. Blon had also increased his strength by singing. Magna then relentlessly attacked Ren with eagle claws, but Ren only dodged without fighting back, which worried everyone. Yet, Opacho reassured them, insisting that Ren could completely avoid the next move. Opacho suggested that Ren was stubbornly trying to defeat his enemy with a perfect move, as if betting against himself. Yo noticed Opacho's displayed ability and wondered if he also possessed mind-reading skills, questioning how else he could know Ren's tactics. Yo also pondered why Doji would leave a child with such abilities with him. As Yo thought about Doji, a ghost suddenly appeared in his mind. Without time to reflect further, he focused on having Ren quickly defeat Magna. Ren, aware of the urgency, attacked Magna with full force. People remaining on the island watched the sunset while enjoying a barbecue. The atmosphere was harmoniously unprecedented. Everyone was deeply concerned about Yo and Doji, who had been on their way to the Mu continent for 4 hours. What had happened during these 4 hours? Were they all still alive? No one knew. At that moment, Anna stepped forward with an oracle bell, which displayed everyone's current energy levels. It was something everyone wanted yet dreaded to see. Finally, the elders of the Asakura family and the Tao family, being more optimistic, asked Anna to show the energy levels of Yo and the others. Although their combined energy was still less than Doji's, they were the only hope for the future. In the volcano level, Magna, unable to confront directly, hid in the shadows. His guardian ghost was an owl, giving him an advantage in hunting from the dark. However, Ren suddenly disappeared and then appeared beside Magna, defeating him with a lightning strike. The gate to the 4th level opened. Yo shared his suspicion with everyone. Opacho could read minds. But why had Doji left him with Yo? Perhaps Doji hoped that Yo and the others would survive to reach him. Meanwhile, Doji had reached the final level. Priest Rutherford had cleared a path for Doji to the temple. Doji marveled at the advanced technology on the Mu continent. Rutherford explained that the Mu continent had been preparing for interstellar colonization, and these 10 levels were created to ensure a habitable place for all life on Earth. However, the civilization of the Mu continent still perished. Despite their advanced technology, they were ultimately just humans, powerless against massive natural disasters. Guided by Rutherford, Doji and his group reached the temple doors. As the doors slowly opened, Doji finally saw the Great Spirit up close. On the throne of the Shaman King was a human skull, signifying the remains of the previous Shaman King. On the other side, Yo and his team had entered the 4th level. The guardian priest, Redeem, who also served as the host of the competition, fought with his guardian ghost, a pelican. Redeem's Oversoul sword shattered Yo's Oversoul. Ryunosuke rushed to help, but Redeem quickly broke his weapon too. Despite their combined efforts, they couldn't gain the upper hand. After attacking, Redeem lamented their weakness, noting they were exhausting their energy just fighting the priests, let alone facing Doji later. Redeem advised them to go home, asserting they couldn't defeat Doji. Although Radam meant well, the group was determined not to give up. Just as Ren was about to act, Radam suddenly impaled Faust. Ryunosuke wanted to avenge Faust, but Faust stopped him, explaining that such injuries could be healed with energy, although he couldn't use resurrection at the moment. Faust then decided to confront Redeem with all his strength, directing Eliza to use their ultimate move. However, Redeem blocked the attack and swiftly struck Faust again. Fortunately, it was only Faust's Oversoul that was dispersed. Faust then began to sing. Knowing that the Patch tribe enhanced their powers by singing, he sang their team's song. His cheerful singing forced Radim to attack again. This time, Radim shattered not just the Oversoul, but also the last bit of Faust's life force. Faust ultimately fell into the lake and lost his life. Yo, having gathered his strength, activated his Oversoul. As long as their spirits weren't defeated, they wouldn't lose. He wouldn't let Faust die in vain. Radim, impressed by Yo, clashed weapons with him, but Yo's movement suddenly quickened, and he knocked Radim into the lake. Radim was puzzled by Yo's sudden increase in strength, noting Yo's energy didn't seem fueled by anger or sorrow. Yo had truly grown. Although reluctant to be Yo's enemy, his duty as one of the 10 priests was to protect the Shaman King. Inevitably, he had to confront Yo. However, Yo easily dodged Radim's final attack, and in the last duel, Radim lost to Yo. Ryunosuke cried over Faust, but Faust's spirit felt content, happy to be with his wife. On the other side, people on the island were enjoying a barbecue, but noticed that Redseb and Seirarm, along with Golem, were missing. It turned out that the 2 children were piloting Golem, diving deeper into the ocean to personally attempt to kill Doji by destroying the Oversoul protecting Mu continent. During intense tremors, Redseb and Seirarm died and became spirits. They had been discovered by Doji from the start. Doji sent a fire spirit to kill the siblings. From Doji, they learned that Golem's spirit was actually their mother's. Then, surprisingly, Golem began to attack again. At this point, the Grand Elder Goldva, controlling an Oversoul, shattered Golem. With the shaman dead and the Oversoul broken, everything should have been peaceful. However, Golem began to self-repair. Doji, moved by this, remarked on the greatness of a mother's love. Noting that even so, she was determined to protect her children. Doji decided to spare Redseb's life, asking him to deliver something to Yo on his behalf. Yo and his team have entered the plateau level, guarded by the hard-working Kalem. Perhaps due to their familiarity, there were no formalities exchanged. Hirokyu rushed forward first, but Kalem activated his Oversoul and sent Hirokyu flying. Seeing this, Yo suggested he should battle Kalim himself this time, but he was not alone in the fight as he was carrying Faust's spirit. As it was getting dark, it was inconvenient for them to fight at night, so they decided to stay and rest at the plateau level, taking shelter in Kalim's home to better prepare for battle. Meanwhile, the Gandhara were busy. Through their efforts, they had secured 3 of the 5 great spirits, with only the earth spirit still out of reach aside from the fire spirit, which was in Doji's possession. Time was running out, and Sati needed to find a way to obtain the earth spirit. Unexpectedly, at this time, the fire spirit was delivered to Yo by Redseb. It turned out that Doji, for some unknown reason, told Redseb that he no longer needed the fire spirit and decided to give it to Yo as a toy. Redseb shared the consequences of his impulsive actions with everyone, expressing regret over causing his sister's death and destroying Golem. Yo comforted Redseb, suggesting that there might be a way to resurrect everyone in the future. Ren added that as long as the spirit remains, the body can be restored, and there was no need to fear, even if the spirit was shattered. The Great Spirit records all memories on Earth, and they might not need its power since the 5 Great Spirits are also emanations of the Great Spirit. Thus, the Fire Spirit might still contain the soul of the person Doji killed, and with enough power, they might also resurrect the siblings. On the island, everyone searched for Redseb and Seirarm for a long time without success. Asakura Mikihisa tried to locate Mu continent but failed. By this time, Hana had learned that Sati had acquired 3 of the Great Spirits and was considering how to deliver them to Yo. The Shaman King would ascend to the throne the next morning. Success or failure would be decided then. They had no way back. The next day, Yo woke up early and went for a walk in the mountains with Amidamaru, knowing that everything would conclude today. Doji was in a death-like sleep and would become the Shaman King upon awakening. If Yo were to confront Doji, he was likely to die, but he was mentally prepared. Dying for a cause would be the greatest comfort to Yo. At the same time, his companions woke up, ready to face off against Kalim. Hirokyu stepped up to fight again. Kalim attacked first, but Hirokyu dodged. Then Hirokyu launched a hail attack at Kalim, who shattered all the hailstones. Today, Kaleem needed to settle his grudge with Hirokyu. Deep inside, Hirokyu harbored a side unknown to others. When he heard Kaleem shout the name he was given at birth, Hirokyu became completely enraged. He hated that name because a bastard bearing it had killed the girl he loved. In a school in Hokkaido, a new transfer student joined Hirokyu's class. She was the daughter of a dam construction company owner, and her classmates nicknamed her Dam Girl. On her first day, she took an interest in Hirokyu and found his name difficult to pronounce, so she decided to give him a new name on her own. Hirokyu initially ignored her and warned her that getting too close to him could lead to her being ostracized by the other students. However, Dam Girl mentioned that her father was planning to demolish the local village to build a dam and had already offended many people. This revelation shocked Hirokyu, and he began to spend more time with her. However, their happy times were short-lived, as the elders in Hirokyu's tribe eventually learned about their friendship. They advised Hirokyu to distance himself from Dam Girl, explaining that their tribe lived in harmony with nature and represented by the spirit wolf, which was disappearing due to human activities. Dam Girl's father was even trying to alter the environment and destroy the land, making it impossible for Hirokyu to be friends with her. Young Hirokyu faintly understood the elders' deep expectations and began to distance himself from Dam Girl, leaving her confused and guessing that her father's actions were the cause. Hirokyu was deeply troubled and couldn't tell her the truth, so he avoided her. After that day, Dam Girl never returned to school. When Hirokyu later heard news of her, she had already passed away. She had died in a snow mountain while trying to follow Hirokyu, a tragedy he realized was caused by his actions. Since then, Hirokyu gave up everything, hoping to one day become a qualified shaman and properly apologize to Dam Girl. This incident has always been a burden on Hirokyu's heart, and he could not forgive himself. So when Kaleem brought up the issue today, Hirokyu, filled with anger, attacked Kaleem, seemingly trying to shatter his past mistakes along with him. Just then, Hirokyu's Kororo suddenly emitted a bright light and transformed into the figure of a young girl. It turned out that Kororo was actually the Dam Girl. Hirokyu was stunned by this revelation. Dam Girl explained that on the day she froze to death in the mountains, spirits that guide souls appeared, but she did not leave with them because she had a lingering question about why Hirokyu distanced himself from her. Moved by her determination, the mountain god appeared and told Dam Girl that the only way she could stay was to become a guardian spirit of the mountain, protecting its people forever. However, this transformation into a spirit allowed her only one chance to return to her original form, which would be when her master's heart thawed. Now that Hirokyu was finally ready to reveal his secrets, Dam Girl took the opportunity to revert to her original form. Although their reunion was brief, Dam Girl felt fulfilled and decided to continue accompanying Hirokyu as his guardian ghost. Hirokyu was thankful for the second chance given by the gods and for Kaleem helping him resolve his emotional burden. Thus, in the ensuing fight, Hirokyu defeated Kaleem swiftly, ensuring Kaleem felt no pain. The fight ended quickly, and Hirokyu and Kororo affectionately stayed together before proceeding to the forest level. However, they did not see the guardian of this level. In fact, the guardian Renim, whose oversoul was a chameleon, had already hidden behind them. As Renim prepared to ambush, Lysurg suddenly called out his name, startling Renim, who wondered if Lysurg had discovered him. Indeed, Lysurg had deduced it, reasoning that Renim was the most suitable guardian for this forest level. He also easily pinpointed Renim's location, shocking Renim. At that moment, Opacho, disturbed by Renim's intense mental activity, which kept him from sleeping, transformed into a sheep and kicked Renim away. Not only did the world become quiet, but the door to the next level also opened. Everyone did not rush to leave, because they were curious about Opacho's abilities and why Doji had left Opacho with them. In fact, after a day at the hot springs, Doji was kept awake by Yo's inner voice. Consequently, he shared the secret of mind reading with Yo. When people care too much about others' opinions, their ability to perceive inner thoughts tends to grow stronger. Anna, having powerful psychic abilities from a young age, was abandoned by her parents and spent her childhood reading adults' faces, inadvertently strengthening her ability to understand others' emotions to the point where it spawned inner demons. Fortunately, Yo and Matamune helped purge Anna's inner demons and saved her. Doji felt a bit envious of Anna. He once had a friend named Ohachio who could have healed his spirit. Actually, Doji named him Opacho because the pronunciation is similar in Japanese. Hearing Yo's story, Ryunosuke and the others were puzzled about why Doji would share his secrets with Yo. Yo wasn't sure either, but he felt that Doji was either waiting for him to defeat him or, as Marco said, to be saved by a great love. Subsequently, the group arrived at the 7th cave level, guarded by Necrom. Given the deep grudge between him and Ren, it was natural for Ren to handle this challenge. Necrom activated his Oversoul and launched an attack at Ren, who effortlessly countered it without even needing to use his armored Oversoul, leaving Necrom severely wounded. Seeing this, Ren told Necrom to unleash all his anger if he truly wanted to avenge his brother. Encouraged by Ren, Necrom fully released his emotions and summoned his brother's guardian ghost. Necrom's speed increased dramatically, and he teleported behind Ren, knocking him away. However, Ren did not retaliate. He was letting Necrom vent his resentment. As the attacks continued, Necrom began to find closure, and both understood that dwelling on the past was not productive. With time running out, Ren finally activated his armored Oversoul, and a powerful bolt of lightning defeated Necrom. Suddenly, the surroundings began to shake, seemingly pulsating like a heartbeat, indicating that Doji was about to awaken. The group quickly headed to the 8th ocean level, guarded by Priest Thalum. Ren, in a rush, launched a lightning strike at Thalum, who evaded by hiding inside a wooden object, which is non-conductive. Following this, Hirokyu attacked with ice, targeting the plant-based defenses, but Thalum escaped into a flower, rendering the ice ineffective. Subsequently, numerous vines tightly entangled Hirokyu and Ren. Ryunosuke attempted to assist, but was knocked down by Thalum's seed cannon. Thalum boasted about having an abundance of plant ghosts, more than enough to handle the group. Chocolove charged forward but was repelled by a foul-smelling flower. Thalum then unleashed his Oversoul, intending to end the battle. However, Chocolove combined Mick and Abaj to create an Oversoul that generated a level 8 typhoon, overwhelming Thalum's Oversoul. The wind, being the natural enemy of wood, dried out the earth and killed the plants. Chocolove then swiftly defeated Thalum, who, puzzlingly, died smiling, as if he hadn't exerted his full strength. Although they passed the level, Chocolove was drained of energy. The group then arrived at the 9th glacier level, guarded by Priest Silva. Silva was gratified to see the growth of the young man before him, recalling how naive Yo was during their initial test. Now, not only was Yo's personal strength formidable, but he had also gathered many allies. Silva launched an Oversoul totem cannon, pushing Yo into deep water. Yo blocked the attack and also countered Silva's subsequent close-range strikes. The battle escalated from the water to the sky, where Silva felt a profound sense of satisfaction seeing Yo shine like the sun. Their blades collided, causing a massive explosion. After the dust settled, Yo had pierced through Silva, successfully passing the 9th level. While Yo and his team were fiercely battling on the Mu continent, Manta, who was left on the island, had a strange dream. In the dream, Doji turned into a princess trapped on Mu continent, and Yo and others embarked on an adventure to rescue her. Manta was frightened by his own dream, but suddenly Anna's voice rang out behind him. It turned out that Anna Hall's Sphinx had a diving mode. They decided to take the Sphinx to Mu continent to deliver the spirits brought by Gandhara to Yo and his team. At that time, Yo and his companions were outside the 10th space level, debating their tactics. They were considering if they should wrap their bodies with Oversoul before entering. Ryunosuke suggested using his Oversoul to encompass everyone, allowing free movement without wasting energy. However, Ren was worried that this would make Ryunosuke a target. Despite this, Ryunosuke was determined, and the group finally set off towards the last cosmic level. Unexpectedly, the guardian of this level resembled an alien. Ren attacked the guardian, Rutherford, first, but Rutherford's powers repelled Ren. Then Rutherford struck again and repelled Ryunosuke's Oversoul. Seeing that they were not defeated, Rutherford felt somewhat unsuccessful and unleashed a supergravity force, pinning everyone to the ground. Rutherford revealed to Yo that the Patch Tribe's mystical powers were closely linked to aliens. Many years ago, an alien spaceship crashed on Earth, and the ancestors of the Patch Tribe saved an alien, leading to a deep friendship between them. Even the oracle bell was manufactured by aliens, and the initial shaman fights were closely related to aliens. As the shaman king was about to awaken, Rutherford decided to stop wasting time and attempted to crush them all with his supergravity. However, Rutherford's power seemed completely ineffective against Yo. Yo explained that this was due to energy neutralization and then unleashed his ultimate technique, breaking Rutherford's oversoul. Just as Yo was about to launch another attack, everyone's oracle bell suddenly rang. At the same time, the cosmic level stopped functioning, and everyone fell to the ground. This meant that the shaman king had awakened. Hana and others also sensed something unusual. The next second, the Sphinx exploded violently. Even Jean sensed that something was wrong as a powerful force suddenly attacked her. Doji had awakened, and no one could defeat him now. At that moment, Goldva broke through a wall into the cosmic level. The spirit maidens only glanced at Doji's soul before it was drawn out of them. Goldva was thrilled that such a powerful force existed in the world, but he then vanished into nothingness under Doji's gaze. Runosuke's soul was instantly extracted just by looking at Doji. Soon, the souls of the others were absorbed by Doji one after another. Under Doji's overwhelming presence, all resistance seemed futile. All power would submit to this planet's sole ruler. Opacho, terrified, started crying, instinctively feeling that the person before him was not the real Doji. Doji was not this cruel. At that moment, Yo charged forward and decapitated Doji, knowing that this Doji was just a soulless shell. Doji had killed all of Yo's friends. Was this his final test? At that moment, a bright light struck at Yo. Although Amidamaru tried to block it, Yo still died. Yo woke up to find himself inside the Great Spirit, with Doji standing behind him. However, Yo seemed to have no intention of fighting. The Shaman King could not be won over by battle alone. Doji told Yo that only those summoned by the Shaman King had the right to be here. Yo asked Doji about his plans, to which Doji revealed his intention to destroy humanity. Yo was not surprised and did not even try to dissuade him. He was not particularly fond of humans himself, acknowledging that humanity had indeed polluted the planet. However, he lacked the power to change it. Yo admitted that his battles had always carried the purpose of overthrowing everything. Doji then explained that Yo lost because his hatred for humanity was not absolute. But now, such considerations were moot as Doji had brought all of Yo's cherished ones here, where they could escape the doomed human world. Yet, Yo felt no joy in his heart. Staying here meant no future, no chance to be with future family and children. Doji disliked hearing this, realizing his brother still harbored illusions about humanity. He planned to send Yo out of the Great Spirit to suffer and reflect. Unexpectedly, Doji's powers malfunctioned. Yo refused to leave the Great Spirit, puzzling Doji as his will became ineffective. Could Yo also possess the powers of the Shaman King? Suddenly, familiar voices rang out. Doji discovered that Yo's companions had appeared, having gained the approval of the 5 Great Spirits to enter the Great Spirit. Ren thanked Doji. Without him killing everyone, they would not have known that entering the Great Spirit could grant them the 5 Great Spirits. The group then combined with the spirits and launched various attacks at Doji. Yo watched fearfully, but Ren knew this would not kill Doji. He handed the Earth Spirit to Yo. They no longer wished to destroy Doji but simply wanted to vent their frustrations, which infuriated Doji. He decided to use the Shaman King's Oversoul to eliminate these presumptuous youths. Doji's massive Oversoul Great Spirit shocked Yo and the others. Even though the 5 Great Spirits were powerful as forces of nature, the power of the Shaman King was the power of the stars. Everyone was now giving their all, except Yo, who was still unsure how to use the Earth Spirit. As Yo was contemplating, a barrage of meteorites headed towards them. Yo then realized he could use the Earth's gravity, causing all meteorites to enter a state of weightlessness, giving Ren and the others a much-needed break. However, Doji then summoned a black hole with a gravitational pull so strong that not even light could escape. While Yo was using the Earth Spirit to resist the black hole's pull, Manta suddenly appeared on a train, and surprisingly, everyone who had ever appeared in the anime was on board as well. Doji was utterly shocked by this scene. He could understand the 5 warriors, but the arrival of all these people was beyond him. Doji, frustrated and angry, demanded to know who was orchestrating this behind the scenes. At that moment, Marco arrived, driving the motor angels with his companions. Reinhardt had also returned to the X-Laws for a happy life with his new girlfriend. He commanded the Great Angel to shoot the Iron Maiden at Doji. Jin used Shamash's divine embrace. However, before Shamash could get close to Doji, Luchist cautioned everyone to keep their distance from Doji and pleaded with Yo not to be an enemy to the people anymore. Instead, he suggested using the power of the Shaman King to send these people back to the human world. Following this, Doji's subordinates also stepped forward, hoping Doji would allow the innocents to return to the human world, while they themselves were willing to stay with Doji. Opacho wanted to enter the black hole to stay with Doji forever. Just as Opacho was about to enter, Doji closed the black hole. He truly could not bear to see Opacho die right before his eyes. Gandhara's Sati also appeared, bringing Doji an old friend, Ohachio. Doji was shocked and learned that Ohachio had been with his mother, who he had been searching for over 1,000 years. This news nearly made Doji lose control. His mother had been burned to death by humans 1,000 years ago, and her soul was thought to be completely lost. However, Ohachio revealed that Doji's mother's soul had always been near him, but Doji's anger had kept him from sensing her. Doji found it hard to believe these revelations and wondered if the soul train was Matamune's doing. At that moment, Hana stepped out from Golem and explained that Matamune would not come because he no longer wanted to fight with Doji. Doji was confused by everyone's actions and asked Hana for an explanation. Hana challenged Doji, asking why he couldn't read her mind if he was supposed to have mind-reading abilities. In fact, after becoming the Shaman King, Doji had lost this ability, as he no longer needed to heed others' feelings. Now, Doji was surrounded by everyone's goodwill, returning to his original, pure-souled self. Hana explained that seeing Ohachio meant Doji had freed himself from his hatred. Facing so many benevolent souls, Doji had unconsciously surrendered. Thus, he could now see his mother. A gentle woman descended from the train, and Doji finally saw his long-lost mother, who bore a striking resemblance to Hana. His mother, patting Doji's head, apologized to everyone on his behalf. Doji reacted childishly, questioning why his mother, who had been killed by despicable humans, should apologize to them. Then, Doji received a slap from his mother, who told him that hating others is the same as hating oneself, and only forgiveness can bring redemption. She then embraced Doji. Yo now truly acknowledged Doji as his brother. However, Doji warned them not to get too close, reminding them that he was the Shaman King and held the fate of humanity in his hands. Nevertheless, he decided to give humanity more time to see what they would do. Doji then disappeared with the 10 priests. 7 years later, Earth seemed as if nothing had ever happened. People were living ordinary, stable lives. Yo's son, Hana, was waiting on the roadside with Ryunosuke when suddenly Hirokyu brought his face close to Hana's, startling him and causing Hana to send Hirokyu flying. At the same time, Lysurg and Chokolov also arrived at the scene. Soon after, a carriage pulled up and Ren stepped down, holding his son Tao Men, who had hair and eye colors identical to Jin's. Ren had indeed married Jin. Yo and Anna had finally returned from their world travels. Although Yo was now an adult, he still had a carefree demeanor, while Anna had grown to resemble Doji's mother. Yo was warmly welcomed by his son. After 7 years, everyone gathered together again, eating, drinking, and making merry. Despite growing up and having faced life and death together, their bonds remained unchanged. At that moment, Doji stood on the rooftop, watching the playful group. He looked down and saw Matamune, suggesting they could once again travel and live together. Although the story of the Shaman King had come to an end, the adventure of Asakura Hana was just beginning. Today, Asakura Hana was called to a designated place. As he looked down, he unexpectedly saw a group of thugs with weapons, led by a man who needed to defeat Hana to claim the title of the strongest in the region. Although Hana didn't understand their reason for fighting, he accepted the challenge and summoned Amidamaru. The scene shifts. Back at home, Hana is scolded by Tamao for using the guardian ghost as a tool in fights. Tamao then forbids Hana from using the guardian ghost. She threatens him with a severe beating if he disobeys again, which frightens Hana into agreeing. Tamao is not just Hana's guardian. She is also known as the formidable demon Miko for her powerful abilities. Elsewhere, a brother and sister arrived at the cemetery and saw the thugs defeated by Hana. They are descendants of Doji, bearing the strongest royal bloodline. The next day, Hana returned to the cemetery only to find Amidamaru's tombstone split in half. Furious, he vowed to find the perpetrator. Just then, a stranger appeared and asked what Hana was doing. Since Tamao had instructed Hana not to reveal the existence of ghosts to ordinary people, he pretended to be talking to himself. However, the stranger had already seen through Hana's identity. It turned out he was also a shaman, with a guardian ghost named Daikyo. Hana realized it was this man who had damaged Amidamaru's tombstone. The man introduced himself as Asakura Yohane, claiming he could only become the true Asakura by killing Hana. Hana didn't care where this man came from, or that he shared his surname, showing no mercy. Hana merged with Amidamaru immediately, a technique Johan was also familiar with, where one infuses their body with their guardian ghost to gain strength. Yet Johan easily blocked Hana's attack, and Daikyo even criticized Hana's swordsmanship as outdated. In the next moment, before Hana could react, Johanna had closed in on him. Hana was thrown several meters away with just one strike. Amidamaru never expected his sword skills to be defeated by an unknown Ronin. Recalling the opponent's claim to the Asakura name, his black hair, cold gaze, and silver eye patch, Amidamaru recognized him as a descendant of Doji. Before he could think further, the opponent prepared to use Oversoul, a power only the strong can wield.
Oversoul.
At this point, Hana wasted no more words and drew the ancient sword given to him by his father. Johan felt Hana was unworthy of this weapon. However, Johan could not have anticipated that Hana too could use Oversoul. It turned out Hana had practiced this technique countless times in preparation for battle. Johan was thoroughly defeated at that moment and lay on the ground questioning his life. Meanwhile, Johan's sister rushed to the scene, but Hana had already left. The boy never expected that simply watering a flower would lead him to see a girl staring intently at him under the streetlight. Hana's first reaction was not fear, but shyness, suspecting that the girl might be confessing her feelings. So, without wasting words, he ran downstairs, leaving a confused Amidamaru behind. However, looking out the window, he saw Hana flirting awkwardly with the girl. But soon, Hana was bewildered as the girl summoned an animal guardian ghost with her magic wand, making Hana back away in alarm, wondering why it escalated to releasing a dog to attack him. The girl was named Asakura Luka, Johan's sister, and the one intent on taking Hana's life. She wasted no time and activated her Oversoul. Only then did Hana realize she was there for revenge. He also activated his Oversoul using the ancient sword. Luka then charged at him with her war chariot. Thinking he could not withstand it, she underestimated Hana's Oversoul, which could not only transform into a shield to block substantial damage, but also switch to an attack mode. At this point, Hana asked Luka why she wanted to kill him, just as Johanna had not explained his reasons. This deep, soul-searching question confused Luka, as she had lived in the mountains all her life, interacting only with Johan and following their father's teachings. Even Luka herself was unclear why she was supposed to kill Hana. Regardless, she was focused on achieving her goal. She then evolved her Oversoul into a mecha form and stomped towards Hana. Just as Hana was about to strike at the mecha's foot, his back was completely exposed to Johan, who seized the opportunity to launch a successful sneak attack on Hana. It turned out that the siblings, Luka and Johan, were targeting Hana for the sake of Asakura-yo. However, Hana declared that only he could defeat his father. Seeing Johan in danger, Luka attempted to launch an attack, but unexpectedly, Hana's ancient sword blocked it. Realizing Hana was not easy to kill, Luka and Johanne merged into a combined Oversoul and prepared to unleash their strongest move. As Hana was figuring out how to respond, a girl suddenly appeared and blocked all attacks for him. The siblings were baffled by this unexpected obstacle, but resolved that anyone who hindered them must be eliminated. After the smoke cleared, the girl maneuvered behind the mecha, used her silver rod to bind it, blocked attacks with her silver shell, and shattered the opponent's oversoul with her silver horn. She also declared herself to be Hana's fiancée, stating that if Hana did not marry her, she would kill him. This girl was Illumi, the daughter of Silva. Hana never expected that merely commenting his fiancée was flat-chested and not his type would result in a severe beating from Illumi. Even Ryunosuke and Amidamaru were helpless to intervene. Illumi was amazed that Hana, despite being stabbed in the stomach, was still unharmed. Ryunosuke quickly intervened, warning that a few more hits could kill Hana. However, had Illumi not appeared in time, Hana would have already been dead. Thus, the three of them had no say in the matter, though they couldn't deny they agreed with her reasoning. Their fear of Illumi stemmed from her imposing presence and the fact that she was approved as a daughter-in-law by Hana's parents. Meanwhile, Tamao headed directly to the main base of the Asakura branch family, who are direct descendants of Doji exiled a millennium ago. Despite their current destitution, they dream of rising again. However, since they were plotting to kill Hana, Tamao, as Hana's guardian, could not ignore this threat. Upon arriving at school, Hana had planned to simply attend his classes. However, the teacher announced that a new transfer student had joined the class. It was Hana's enemy, Johan. Watching Johan walk straight towards him to sit next to him left Hana bewildered. The two quickly headed to the rooftop. Hana summoned his guardian ghost, but Johan wasn't looking to fight, especially since his arm was currently immobile. Johan admitted he was no match for Hana at the moment. Just then, Johan's daikyo appeared, suggesting a temporary cessation of hostilities. The reason was straightforward. Tamao had demolished the main base of the Asakura branch family with a single strike, and the mastermind behind it all emerged. It was the branch family head, Asakura Yokio. Unable to bear the disgrace, Yokio activated his oversoul. However, he didn't expect to be easily defeated by Tamao's punches. Yokio was not the ultimate mastermind, and although Daikyo was unaware of what happened later, the battle ended with both sides agreeing to a truce. Therefore, it was not the time for them to fight. However, Daikyo had no interest in the truce agreement. His only desire was to defeat Amidamaru. Hana never imagined that his future would be so tightly controlled by his fiancée, Illumi. She would often resort to physical aggression at the slightest disagreement, and Hana found himself powerless against her because Illumi was too strong and unbeatable. Moreover, Illumi's connections included being a student of Hana's mother and Tamao. Thinking about his difficult future life, Hana felt utterly disheartened. Previously, Tamao had stormed into the Asakura branch family's main base and demolished their house. However, considering they were part of the Asakura branch, both sides reached a ceasefire agreement. Despite this agreement, Daikyo was not bound by it. He had long wanted to challenge Amidamaru to see who was stronger. However, Amidamaru, being a samurai, showed little interest in such contests, believing that drawing his sword was an act of justice rather than a game. As Daikyo drew his large sword, the outcome was unexpected. Amidamaru defeated him with a single strike. It turned out that Amidamaru had not used his full strength in earlier battles. Hearing this, Daikyo laughed and prepared to strike again, but still to no effect. Additionally, when Amidamaru merged with Hana, he did not use his full power because if he had, Hana's body would not have been able to withstand it. For Amidamaru, his sword is meant to protect those he cares about, and this is his noble purpose. After his defeat, Daikyo underwent a significant change in character and, surprisingly, decided to ask Amidamaru to be his master. This twist turned foes into potential master and student, leaving Hana bewildered. Seeing the matter resolved, they prepared to return to the classroom. However, someone in the building behind was watching the movement here. This man aims to destroy all Japanese influence, to reshuffle and create a new world. Even though Amidamaru's former master was Asakura Yo, he passed the guardian ghost to his son, making the man feel no longer threatened. Back in the classroom, the teacher suddenly announced another new transfer student. It was Illumi. The boys in the class got excited seeing such a bold and attractive girl, and they warmly greeted her. In front of everyone, Illumi openly acknowledged her relationship with Hana and even declared that if Hana ever cheated, she would kill him. Meanwhile, Luca transferred to a private high school predominantly attended by boys. Ryuji was instantly smitten by the beautiful girl, much to the surprise of his subordinates, who tried to dissuade him from pursuing such thoughts, emphasizing that dominating the region was more crucial. However, Ryuji was too enchanted by Luca and decided to win her over, regardless of the consequences. Luca saw an opportunity to use him. On the other side, while Hana and Johan were shopping, Luca blocked their way and had Ryuji surround the mall. Ryuji wasn't seeking revenge for a past incident, but was acting because he believed Luca had been wronged by Hana. He was determined to seek justice for her. Johan urged his sister to stop, noting it was a time for a truce. However, Luca exploited a loophole in the ceasefire agreement. She wouldn't do it herself, but having an outsider do so didn't break the rules. When the confrontation escalated, Hana decided to fight back, but as he attempted to summon Amidamaru, he realized it was ineffective. Unbeknownst to him, Luca had turned Amidamaru to stone. Before Hana could react, Ryuji charged at him and defeated him with a single strike. Even Ryuji was surprised by Hana's weakness without his guardian ghost. At that moment, Luca ordered Ryuji to kill Hana, but Ryuji, only a small-time thug, hesitated to commit murder. His followers also thought the demand was absurd. Then, Luca threatened to kill all of Ryuji's subordinates if he didn't act, escalating the situation further. Yohane noticed something was wrong when his sister unleashed her oversoul, realizing that this guardian ghost was specifically designed to combat the Asakura family. To stop her, Johan prepared to summon his guardian ghost. However, to his surprise, his sister had also petrified Daikyo. As Johan was unsure what to do, Hana stood up and began to awaken his own powers. Ghost fires lit up around him, with numerous ghosts hovering nearby. Seeing this, Luca merged with Daikyo and her guardian ghost, resulting in an ultimate fusion of the two ghosts. Luca aimed to eliminate Hana before he could fully unleash his hidden powers. At that moment, Hana made his move, sending the surrounding ghosts charging forward, but they were effortlessly wiped out by a laser. Yet, seconds later, Hana summoned an even larger ghost. Although the siblings were bewildered, Luca remained unimpressed. With one strike, all the ghosts turned to ash. While Luca thought Hana was easy to defeat, she saw him summon an even bigger ghost, which knocked down her guardian ghost with a single punch. However, Luca's laser still overpowered everything Hana summoned, easily destroying any ghosts he called forth. Despite this, Hana began to unleash his final move. Hana gathered all the ghosts to form a giant dark skeleton. Luca had her guardian ghost fire a laser at it, but unexpectedly, the dark skeleton absorbed all the attacks, rendering Luca's laser useless. She then commanded her guardian ghost to launch physical attacks, using Daikyo as a projectile weapon. Although Luca was thoroughly defeated, the dark skeleton did not dissipate. At this point, Hana was no longer himself. His eyes only showed a desire for endless slaughter. As Yohane braced for death, Alumi arrived and used a specially made shotgun. With just one shot, the indestructible dark skeleton completely vanished. It turned out that when Hana was on the brink of death, his body would generate a ghost. Years ago, as a newborn, Hana was killed during a machine gun attack by enemies targeting his family on a trip. However, his soul met this man, granting Hana the ability to regenerate. No one would have guessed that MC had died shortly after birth, but his soul entered the realm of the gods. There, his uncle Doji used forbidden magic to recreate his body, allowing Hana to return to Earth. Hana's parents also died following that war. Hana's father passed on his guardian ghost to his son, meaning that from the day he returned to Earth, Hana was blessed by both his father and his uncle. His father's ghost was Amidamaru, and his uncle's was Daidarabochi. This ghost would appear whenever Hana was in mortal danger, but it had a fatal flaw. It could make Hana lose his sanity. Fortunately, Hana's mother had taught Alumi how to suppress the ghost's power. At that time, Luca's guardian ghost completely disappeared, but Amidamaru was also gone. It turned out that a mysterious man had used a time-stopping spell to secretly steal Amidamaru, paying a heavy price of 3 of his own cards to do so. After all, Hana's Daidarabachi was not a simple entity. As night fell, Doji's direct descendants, Yohani and Luca, reconciled with Hana. Yohani's daikyo was not coveted and thus remained intact. Luca had been manipulated due to her inner vulnerability, as she had wanted to seize the honor of the Asakura family alone, without involving Yohana. At this moment, Hana walked towards the river, realizing that he was immortal. He thought about continuing to seek death, but Illumi stopped him. After all, if Hana were close to death, Daidarabochi would appear, and suppressing it would be troublesome. However, Hana thought Illumi was being too meddlesome, which infuriated her and led her to kick him. Just then, Tamao arrived. Luca recognized her as the one who had signed the ceasefire agreement with their father. Tamao then invited everyone to her house for dinner, but Illumi declined because someone was waiting for her at home. On her way home, her 5 guardian ghosts also became anxious because the ghost inside Hana was still incomplete. If it appeared multiple times, Daidarabochi would continue to grow towards its full form, and by then, not even a god could help. However, Illumi affirmed that she would definitely protect Hana. Meanwhile, Hana and the others returned home for dinner, with Yohani and Luca among them. At that time, the flower team, followers of Doji, came over. Seeing Yohan for the first time reminded them of Doji. To confirm Yohani's lineage, they started a full-body check on him. Luca felt guilty for her greed that led to Amidamaru being taken. However, members of the flower team comforted her, assuring that they would all work together to retrieve Amidamaru. Meanwhile, Hana was still feeling down about his misfortune, especially since his parents were no longer with him. He had once died, and now even Amidamaru was gone. This led to his deep despondency. Unexpectedly, his sorrowful mood was disrupted by a stranger, which angered Hana. Already frustrated, he found an outlet for his anger in confronting this person. Hana expected a typical fight, but the stranger summoned a guardian ghost and used an oversoul. After Amidamaru was taken, Hana completely let go of his restraint, unleashing his ghost powers. Despite the risk of losing his sanity, or the ghost completely consuming his body, Hana didn't care anymore. If he didn't act, he would be killed by the stranger. Gakko, confident in his oversoul, was shocked when Hana defeated him with a single strike, even melting the area where he was hit. Following this, Hana merged with the ghost, driven only by a desire for slaughter. Gakko was terrified and kept dodging, having never seen such formidable power. At that moment, Gakko's guardian ghost realized the problem. Hana was likely possessed by the ghost. They knew that ghosts are special entities that humans cannot control. If Hana won, their souls would be dragged into darkness by his ghost. They needed to separate the ghost from his body. Gakko's oversoul, given by Doji, prompted Hana to attack more fiercely upon hearing Doji's name. Despite swift slashes, Hana's ghost hand was chopped off, but he continued attacking with his other hand. Unexpectedly, that too was severed. Gakko's oversoul was specifically designed for combating ghosts. Undeterred, Hana resorted to using his feet when his hands were gone, only for his legs to be sliced off too, causing him to collapse. Hearing Hana's agonized cries, the guardian ghost urged Gakko to deliver the final blow. Ghosts, omnipresent and exploiting human vulnerabilities, are drawn by negative emotions. Hana's internal resentment had corroded him, pushing him into a rage. Seeing this, Gakko hesitated no longer and charged with his weapon, only for it to be crushed by the ghost's hand. Before he could react, Hana strengthened and sped up the ghost, landing a punch before Gakko could respond. Although Gakko blocked it with his armor, Hana kicked him to the ground with another blow. At that moment, Gakko's guardian ghost realized that Hana's ghost powers were bestowed by Doji. It became clear to him that Hana was not only the next head of the Asakura family, but also the person designated by Doji. However, Gakko was displeased. He had not trained so hard just to serve someone like this. Although Hana's body was severely damaged, he soon reassembled it, and his ghost evolved further. Now Hana was no longer in control of his own mind, his thoughts consumed by visions of death. Seeing this, Gakko hesitated no longer. He was determined to separate Hana from the ghost. Unexpectedly, Hana was defeated, which ironically saved his life. It is known that prolonged possession by a ghost can gradually consume one's body. Meanwhile, Hana's mother had instructed the Muncer siblings to look after Alumi's daily needs, but they betrayed her. Alumi had sensed something was amiss and decided to leave the place with her 5 guardian ghosts. After Alumi left, a mysterious woman approached the Muncer siblings. Hana never expected to be defeated so thoroughly, and Gakko couldn't understand how such a weak person could be their leader. When Hana awoke and remembered being defeated by Gakko, he became infuriated. Before they could react, Hana attacked them. But the next second, Alumi arrived just in time, aiming her shotgun at Hana and firing several shots, dispersing Hana's ghost instantly. Alumi had previously warned him not to use his ghost powers recklessly, but Hana had ignored her advice, angering her. Given his behavior, she decided it was time for Hana to learn a lesson. Gakko and his guardian ghost were stunned. They had struggled to fight Hana, yet Alumi easily subdued him. Gakko is a follower of Doji and a descendant of Doji's past life. His guardian ghost is named Namaha. They came here specifically to find the successor of the Asakura family. At that moment, Yohani walked over. He was the only one who felt pity seeing Hana beaten so badly. Alumi introduced Yohan as a direct descendant of Doji. They had all gathered together because the world was on the brink of chaos, soon to face a great battle of the gods, which has its origins in the last century. The 8 historical shaman kings hold significant power. If 3 or more challenge the current shaman king, a divine council is convened. However, past conflicts initiated by former gods have led to battles. Such fights risk not only the death of these deities, but also the extinction of humans on Earth. To resolve this, they conduct proxy wars on Earth through their shamans. Doji's team represents the current shaman king. His most formidable adversary is the previous shaman king, whose agent is the mysterious person who previously took Amidamaru. The man is named Yosuke, and his guardian ghost is Yahabe. Yahabe is puzzled as to why he didn't simply kill Hana and Alumi when they were cornered, which would have been simpler. However, Yosuke has his own agenda. Since Hana also harbors hatred, Yosuke wishes to recruit him as an ally. His ultimate goal is to rule the entire Earth. On another front, Hana's team welcomed its final member, Tao Men, who is a descendant of Yo's friend, Ren. However, just as Men was preparing to head home, he was blocked by 2 strangers seeking revenge. They claimed Men's parents had killed their father, and now they wanted to end the life of their offspring in retaliation. Although Men was apologetic, he could not afford to die at that moment, and kneeled before them. However, the strangers were unyielding and struck Men with a fierce punch. Men did not retaliate. After all, it was his parents who had killed their father. Yet the strangers did not offer any chance for mediation, and were determined to take Men's life. Seeing that the strangers were unreasonable and dismissed his proposals, Men no longer held back. He inherited his parents' guardian ghosts, the ancient warrior Basin, and the near-divine Shamash, who had killed their father. Just then, Men activated his oversoul to trap the 2 in interrogation chairs. Men initially intended to spare them, but they became greedy and tried to kill him. At this moment, Hana shouted, drawing Men's attention. Hana was surprised to see this large figure but soon regretted it as the conflict was unrelated to him. Before Hana could think further, Men recognized his identity. It turned out Hana was the team leader of Doji's group. The next second, Men ordered Shamash to attack Hana. The strike left Hana dazed, but Men didn't allow him time to think, urging Hana to quickly summon Amidamaru. Fortunately, Gakko arrived in time to help Hana block the attack, but he couldn't resist for long because Shamash's power was nearly divine. Just then, Men, wielding a weapon, approached from behind them. Gakko asked who he was, and Men promptly declared Gakko as his subordinate, acknowledging Gakko's strength for being able to withstand Shamash's attack. Men then activated his own oversoul, ready to test the limits of Gakko's abilities. Under this assault, Gakko's oversoul was shattered. Men was about to strike at Hana when suddenly, Johann arrived just in time to rescue him. Although their motives were unclear, Johann sensed men's murderous intent and did not hesitate to activate his oversoul. However, Johann's attack, despite its force, was insufficient against Shamash. Men then activated interrogation tools, binding Johanni to a torture wheel. Seeing his friends defeated, Hana's anger overwhelmed him. He activated his ghost powers without waiting for their surprise, evolving again and summoning Daidarabachi, shocking men with the intense murderous intent that filled the screen. Under the overwhelming power, Daidarabachi defeated Shamash with a single punch. However, Men was not scared. Instead, tears appeared in his eyes. He had hoped that seeing his captain's powerful abilities might help save his mother. But at that moment, Hana had lost his sanity and was about to kill Men completely. Just in time, Hana regained his senses, triggered by a memory from his childhood when he had met Men, though he still had many questions about why he had no recollection of this. As Hana came to his senses, Daidarabachi also vanished. Hana did not return to the present world. Soon after, he heard someone calling him. Looking up, he saw his uncle Doji. Seeing him, Hana was furious because it was Doji who had implanted the ghost into his body. Without hesitation, Hana threw a punch at Doji, who easily blocked it, and commented that Hana's temperament was much like his mother's. Then, Doji revealed that Hana had already died. Hearing this, Hana was completely stunned. When he turned around, he saw himself lying on the ground. It turns out that Hana had now entered the realm of the gods. Doji had said that ghost powers should only be used at the brink of death, and that misusing them was akin to suicide. However, Doji would allow Hana to return to the present world, but there was one condition. He must defeat a person, Hana's father, Asakura Yo. The realm of the gods is essentially an archive of all Earth's memories, meaning Doji can recreate any past event, such as Yo in his youth. His purpose in doing this is to have Hana defeat his father, which has always been Hana's desire. Upon seeing his young father, Hana doesn't hesitate and immediately unleashes his ultimate move, fueled by anger, because Yo had traveled around the country, neglecting his son. At that moment, Yo realizes that his opponent is his future son. Seeing Hana's fiery temper, Yo, as a father, decides it's time to teach him a lesson. With just one move, Yo knocks Hana back, but Hana isn't ready to give up, refusing to believe he can't even surpass his father's younger self. Despite his full effort, Hana still can't defeat his father. Yo teaches him a lesson that blind confidence is not real strength. True power comes from the elevation of the soul, which Hana lacks. After everything, Doji ponders how Yo, in teaching his son, showed no mercy. Following this, the Asakura twins agree to let Hana strengthen his abilities in the realm of the gods, while they witness his growth. Taomen's background is extraordinary. His father passed on the ancient warrior basin to him, and his mother, Jin, gave him Shamash. Thus, being favored and gifted, Men developed a tendency to command others and harshly punish those who disobeyed him. However, upon joining Doji's team, he had to keep a low profile. Illumi was someone he couldn't afford to provoke, and Hana was the team captain. Due to forcibly activating his ghost power, Men's soul left the human world and entered the realm of the gods. After discussions between Doji and Yo, it was decided that Hana must grow before returning. Consequently, Hana found himself in the spiritual realm. Angered by thoughts of his father, he prepared to take out his frustrations on a wrecked airplane in front of him. However, a man holding a gun approached him because it was his airplane. It turns out Hana had been transported to a wartime era, meaning the moment Hana saw the airplane, the man had no intention of letting him leave. Unexpectedly, the man actually fired the gun, but he relaxed his guard when he heard Hana speak Japanese. The man then busied himself moving items and explained that the area was chaotic and at the core of the war. He urged Hana to leave quickly and to tell no one about the airplane. Just then, enemy planes flew overhead. The man quickly pulled Hana behind a rock. Fortunately, his plane wasn't bombed again. He then asked Hana to help him hide the plane. Although Hana was confused, he decided to help since he was already there. Time passed quickly, and soon it was night. The man was searching the island for pieces of his airplane to repair it and take off again to continue fighting the enemy. However, Hana truthfully told the man that he was already dead. explaining that this was the spiritual world, which meant he had likely died earlier in the war. The man didn't believe Hana's words, insisting he was still alive. He argued that if he were really dead, then Hana must be as well, suggesting they were both in this illusory hell. This left Hana confused, as the man's argument seemed plausible, especially since Hana had overused his ghost power and been defeated by his father in the realm of the gods. Just then, a tank appeared from the sea. The man quickly extinguished the fire to avoid detection. He identified the approaching forces as the enemy's 82nd Infantry Battalion, well-equipped and numerously manned, including a heavy cannon. Without hesitation, the man, a true warrior, charged to draw their fire. Seeing the situation escalate, Hana knew he couldn't just sit back. Realizing this was the spiritual world, he decided to act unrestrained. The enemies were puzzled by the presence of a child on the battlefield, and were even more surprised to see Hana wielding a samurai sword. Although shocked, the man urged Hana to retreat, as they were facing well-equipped soldiers. However, Hana was not panicked. He believed that in this spiritual world, if he considered himself invincible, then he was invincible. The enemy soldiers were frightened away by the monstrous child, but Hana didn't let them escape, slashing their warship in half with a single stroke. The man was stunned, having never seen such a method of combat. This confirmed what Hana had said was true. He really was dead. The man recalled how he had to leave his country and lover to defend them, promising he would return. Yet, he now accepted the harsh reality that he had been shot down in an aerial battle with the enemy. After Hana finished the fight, the man asked Hana to take his airplane and his body back home. The man never imagined that his mother, Jean, would be turned into a dark guardian ghost. This story begins with the gathering of Doji's team. Men had intended to visit the Asakura family to pay respects to his mother's medium, the Iron Maiden, one of the three great forces in the shaman fight. However, men immediately recognized that it was a fake, as he had removed a spike from the real Iron Maiden to use as a medium for Shamash. The Iron Maiden in front of him had no signs of a spike being removed, indicating it had been switched. At that moment, the betraying Munzer siblings arrived. They admitted to swapping the Iron Maiden and handing it over to the core member of their team, Black Maiden, indicating they were part of the YVS team, enemies of Doji. Men was furious that his mother's artifact had been stolen, but he refrained from using his oversoul to attack, opting instead to test them with physical skills, as he couldn't bear to harm the Iron Maiden associated with his mother. Black Maiden not only took the mask, but even transformed Men's mother into a guardian ghost. When Men saw the complete transformation, he lost any will to resist, as the figure before him was indeed his mother. Seeing that Men could no longer resist, they prepared to seize his Shamash. Just then, the Munzer siblings suggested to Black Maiden that it was time to leave, considering the presence of many formidable enemies. However, Black Maiden showed no fear, even calling the members of the flower team old woman. Just as a conflict was about to erupt, Tamao returned from grocery shopping. Despite her gentle appearance, she was formidable when serious, and no one present could escape her. Seeing the situation, the Munzer siblings quickly tried to defuse it, intending to leave. However, Tamao withdrew her aura and invited them inside to talk. On the other side, after Hana's soul entered the Asura Hell world, Doji intended for him to pass this trial. However, knowing Hana's current difficulty, Doji arranged for a subordinate priest to assist him. This realm consists of numerous close-knit soul areas, inhabited by powerful guardian ghosts of warriors who died in battles through the ages, making it the ideal place for Hana's growth. This meant that if Hana couldn't become stronger, not only would he be unable to leave, his soul would also perish here. Unexpectedly, Yosuke, in pursuit of Hana, also entered the Asura Hell. With his oversoul, Yahabe, Yosuke gained immense confidence. He could become powerful without much effort, as each card in his possession represented formidable power. However, these cards required significant money to be acquired, yet he possessed the ability to increase his wealth, allowing him unlimited use of the cards. The man was a sharpshooter, and killing someone was as easy as flipping his hand. However, he encountered someone who could stop time using the power of a card to pause for 30 seconds. During this pause, he grabbed the bullet and moved directly behind the sharpshooter. He then placed the bullet at the man's neck. As the effect of the time stop ended, the sharpshooter was hit by his own bullet. But then, the plot took another twist. The boy's name is Yosuke, and his mission is to pursue Hana from the Doji team. He is piloting a fighter jet that carries a single-use life, as its pilot had died not long before. Recently, he and his comrades went into battle and encountered Death Zero, a name feared among pilots, signaling inevitable death. It appears like a phantom and vanishes from sight, only to reappear tightly behind them. What puzzled him even more was that he was still alive. Yosuke told him not to panic. Their mission was to find Death Zero, who had supposedly killed him. Yosuke also suspected that Doji intended to make Death Zero Hana's guardian ghost. Soon, Yosuke arrived at his destination and immediately gave Hana a greeting gift without saying a word. Fortunately, Hana activated his oversoul to block it. Hana was unfamiliar with the person before him, but Yosuke claimed they were of the same age, and it wasn't their first meeting. Although Hana didn't understand what he was saying, the fact that Yosuke had tried to crash a plane into him meant Hana was ready to retaliate. However, Yosuke had Yahabe duplicate a card just as Hana attacked. Yosuke then summoned an oversoul just like his own. What surprised Hana even more was that Yosuke could read minds, using his card ability to summon Yo's oversoul, a skill supposedly unique to Amidamaru. Hana couldn't believe Yosuke could use this ability. Seeing Hana's shocked expression, Yosuke prepared to use another card to directly mimic the attack technique. Yosuke's ability comes from buying cards from Yahabe, which grant various powers. Yahabe has collected the powers of all gods in the world, and each card disappears after use. However, Yahabe can provide any number of cards as long as there is money, and the issue of money is easily solved since there are many ways to increase funds with card powers. This means that as long as he has Yahabe, Yosuke is virtually invincible. Surprisingly, Yosuke is not a shaman, and Yahabe is a physical entity. Hana, however, is completely confused by all this, as if he knows nothing. Recalling what Alumi said, Hana remembered his childhood memories where Yosuke had once pushed him and Alumi into a dire situation. It then dawned on Hana that Yosuke had used cards to erase his memories, and even captured Amidamaru. As Hana attacked, Yosuke did not want to kill him, but instead wished to become friends, provided he demonstrated his overwhelming power. He used a card to extend Yahabe indefinitely to strike Hana, instantly neutralizing Hana's ghost ability. At that moment, a man stepped forward, intending to speak. However, Yosuke told the pilot that this man was his enemy, Death Zero, and it was time for revenge. The priest nearby exclaimed in dismay because he knew Yosuke's goal was to thwart Doji's plan. No matter what happened, Doji could not be involved. It turned out that Death Zero was intended by Doji to be Hana's new guardian ghost, because Amidamaru spoiled Hana when around, and was also his father's guardian ghost. The priest could only watch helplessly. Meanwhile, Yosuke kept provoking the pilot. As Yosuke fueled his fear and anger, the pilot's fear turned to rage. However, Death Zero acted first, shooting the pilot dead. Then, Death Zero aimed the gun at Yosuke. He grabbed a bullet and moved behind Death Zero, placing it at the back of his neck. He was certain Death Zero would die when time resumed. However, an unexpected event occurred. Yosuke never imagined that Death Zero, hit by a lethal bullet, would not only survive, but also counterattack and kill him. The nearby priest could do nothing but watch as everyone perished. At that moment, a companion came up from behind, urging him not to be too saddened. In this Asura hell world, they were merely moving to a new area. This was part of Doji's plan to have their souls continuously die and be reborn. They then needed to consider how to handle Yahabe. As they spoke, another group appeared. They were priests from the previous shaman king, and their goal was to take the physical Yahabe. Although their chosen representative was dead, they advised as fellow priests that the previous god had an arrangement that could not be defeated by anyone. If they valued their souls, they should not get involved. Meanwhile, Hana, who had just regained consciousness, found himself in an area filled with many fighter jets. This is a ruthless guardian ghost, one that would even kill its own master. Yet, this brutal guardian ghost was part of a carefully devised plan by Hana's uncle, Doji. Even when shot in the head, Hana did not die because he was in the realm of gods. It was this gunshot that finally awakened Hana. Initially, Doji had sent Hana to the battleground to find a guardian ghost that could assist him. Sakutaro, the man chosen, never showed mercy, even to himself. In a battle where he could have escaped, he chose not to retreat and instead fought to the death with the enemy, preferring to die rather than return without victory. At that moment, Hana was surrounded by dead soldiers, all of whom were Sakutaro's comrades. Sakutaro was still fighting the enemy. When Hana asked him why he fought so desperately, the soldiers explained that his hatred was not for the war or the enemies, but for the people who stopped thinking and went with the flow, those who abandoned their will and became mere tools. Despite this, many still followed the crowd, including Sakutaro. His reason for fighting was to kill everyone, and then himself. Hearing this left Hana bewildered. He remembered Sakutaro once asking him what he fought for, recalling his father mentioning he lacked something crucial, and Amidamaru telling him he wasn't truly strong. Ryunosuke had been waiting for the day Hana would realize his true strength. At that moment, he realized that Sakutaro was not fighting for strength, but to return alive to his loved one, even at the cost of his own life. From that point on, Hana had an epiphany. What he lacked was like the moment when his parents shielded him with their lives from enemies firing at him. In essence, while his soul was in the hell of warriors, his body was always quietly guarded by his friends. Therefore, even in death, he had to return to them, fulfilling his duty as their leader. Meanwhile, the Munzer siblings, along with Black Maiden, caused a disturbance at Tamao's tavern. They merely wanted to retrieve their golem, but Tamao claimed responsibility for guarding it since it was left there. Thus, she invited them in for a discussion. However, Redseb urged the Doji team not to resist pointlessly, explaining that their god YVS had completed its dominion over the earth 70 years ago. Tamao, understanding the situation, knew the Munzer siblings were just following their deity's orders. Although Black Maiden did not kill men, Tamao seriously asked if Jean was killed by that girl. This suspicion was confirmed by the other party. It turned out that Black Maiden was indeed the one who killed the previous generation's Iron Maiden, because only by achieving this could the current Doji team be made to realize the reality of their situation. At this point, Ryunosuke, seeing the provocation, became enraged and was about to teach them a lesson when he was stopped by Tamao. As for deciding whether to give up the fight against the YVS team, Tamao thought it best to wait for Hana's return to confirm. However, with the YVS team having Black Maiden, who had the power to kill a previous generation's strong member, it remained uncertain how Hana would choose. Thus, the first season of this anime concluded. The second season will continue with Hana gaining powerful abilities in the spiritual world and leading the Doji team in a decisive battle against the YVS team to determine the fate of their world.